Hello, my fellow movie fans, and welcome to another show of Feast of Films Theatre. Today starring Matthew Black and Ethan R. Hill. There, that's the intro.
Oh, yeah. Classic. Classic. What's going on, my fellow movie fans? Welcome to A Feast of Films, episode 22, part 2. I am Matthew Ayalew, and with me, as always, is...
Ethan R. Hill.
What's going on, buddy?
Oh, back for another conversation in the same night for a different week, because that's how we do things.
Yeah.
I hope people follow
saving.
that.
Yeah. Hey, man, you can't do... Here's the thing that I've definitely learned. Trying to balance everything. It's like you can't do everything unless you organize it and plan it accordingly. So,
Exactly.
just like, yeah. Time savers, man. Life hack.
Life smack.
Life smack. Life smack. Life smack. Anyway, it's time for our beginning of the episode. Shameless plugs. Ethan, where can the people find you this episode?
Is that a new segment now we have from now on? Is shameless plugs?
The shameless plug.
We're really leaning
Sex
into that,
tapes
aren't we?
for porn for everyone. You gotta lean into it, man. You just
Exactly.
lean into it.
Get those views.
Get those views. It's shameless.
You guys-
That's the point.
I actually started watching Shameless. I haven't made it through the first episode.
I haven't
because,
yet,
like,
actually. But
I've been watching like 20 minutes per night kind of thing, and it's
Oh,
like
yeah.
an hour-long episode. But it's fun. It's a weird show, but it's a fun show.
Heh.
Anyway, where you can find me is Ethan R. Hill on YouTube, on Instagram. And you can find my movie Damned Rights at realhouse.org. Just search Damned Rights. You'll find it there. Go rent it, buy it, whatever you want to do with it. Just
After
look
that,
at it
it's
and
all up
decide
to
not
you.
to. You can do what most people do, and they just kind of like, they look at it, they view the page, and they're like, this is a trailer. And they watch the trailer. They're like, oh, no, I don't want to watch this. You can be one of those people. Or you could make me happy and, help support me. Support my dream.
yeah, you're
Be a
supporting
friend.
dreams, guys. You're supporting dreams. Don't support Amazon and Jeff Bezos and all their trillionaire dollars. Support Ethan and his dreams, people.
So
Damn
I can be a
right.
billionaire with trillions of dollars one day.
Damn right,
then-
damned right.
Exactly, and that's the
That
name
should
of
be
the
your
movie there.
slogan. When you see damned rights, you're gonna be like, damn right.
That's
Say
actually
damn
like,
right to damned rights.
so that's how we got the title.
Oh, really?
We were like, me and Prosser were texting each other about our movie, and it was like the first original title was like Burn and Bury. It was just not a good title. It was just
Yeah.
really dumb, and I think one of us said, I can't remember who said it. I think he said "damned rights," just like in response to me saying something. He's
Yeah.
like "damned
Damn
rights," and I'm
right.
like, that's the movie title, except we spell it this way, RITES.
Yeah.
We're like, oh my gosh, it makes no sense, but it's perfect.
But it works.
And yeah, and that's how we got it. We from a joke text.
Interesting.
That's how we got the title from the movie. And like, it's not even reference. I think we got it after. Was that after we shot it, or was that right before we shot it? No, we had the title before we shot it, didn't we? Yes. Yeah. So like, yeah, but that was everything. It just comes from a joke.
You never know where you can find gold, man. Always
exactly.
in like the least expected places.
Like,
and
where can they
talking
find
about-
your gold?
Yeah, I was
Matt?
gonna say, talking about least expected places to find gold, or maybe you might find other stuff. Who knows? Definitely not sex tapes, though. Don't come looking for sex tapes. You won't find them here.
The more you tell people not to, that's where they're gonna come looking for, man.
Well, yeah. Anyway, you can find my channel, Storytellers for Life, on YouTube. Link down below. You can also find me at Twitter at Storytellers4L, the number 4, capital L. Facebook at Storytellers for Life. Twitch, Storytellers for Life Live. All those links down below. It's that whole channel experience that I've been talking about for like the last couple months. That I'm like, it's gonna come out, but it never did. Now it is. And now we're up and rolling. So exciting times. Go check it out. And join me in being storytellers for life, or just even celebrating storytelling. That's part of the fun too. Speaking of celebrating storytelling, we're shitting all over it. We're going to be talking about Wonder Woman 84 today. We're going to be talking about Darkest Hour. We're going to be talking about the movies and shows that we've watched over the holidays. And Ethan has opinions. So if you are a person who gets offended by opinions, this is the time to just leave. Leave right now. But don't. Just,
Or
maybe
if you
put
don't
it
want
like
spoilers
quietly
too,
in
I
the
mean, that's also
background so we get like the watch time. That'd be really cool.
yeah. You can hit play. Like the thing people I don't think they realize, they can hit play and then leave the room. They don't have to listen to us.
Hit
Just
play
it.
and walk away.
Exactly.
That should be our slogan. A feast of films. Hit play, and walk away.
I like that we're completely changing our goals with this, and it's not about making content. It's about people just leaving it on play in the background. Hey, you have a pet that feels like they're gonna be alone at home. You don't want to leave them alone because they're gonna get sad. Just leave us on. They can hear our voices. We'll even talk to them. Like, hey, buddy, how you doing?
You're a good boy. You're a good boy. And or girl.
We'd be terrible people and just like, you want to go for a walk and just. It's the worst people in the world.
Honestly, though, I'm serious, man. That's gold in unexpected places. That should be our new slogan. Hit play and walk away, man. Money. Right there. Anyway, another thing that I'm sure you're feeling like you could hit play and walk away on is Wonder Woman 84. Honestly, I don't know that. I don't know your opinion. I just know that's a lot of people's opinions about this movie. But yeah, I'm interested in your take on Wonder Woman 84. Tell us, where did you watch it? And how'd you feel about it?
We rented it from Amazon because that is an option, because movie theaters are not quite open here. So we didn't go see it in theaters. And I don't, honestly, to me and the movie I watched, it wouldn't have made a difference. It wouldn't have changed anything for me. Overall, I was pretty disappointed by it. A lot of it to me didn't make sense. It didn't land. The acting was okay, except for Pedro Pascal.
Right.
Pedro Pascal.
Right. He sold that.
Oh man, he was nuts and he was great. He was the most entertaining part to watch. However, his character just had the name of Maxwell Lord.
Yeah.
And when you, like, especially as a comic book fan, they literally just threw that name onto someone who has nothing in common with Maxwell Lord. Like, it was a pointless name for the character. I think you could have named him anything else and it would have been just as good as what it was. There were a lot of inconsistencies throughout the film. I didn't find the acting to be really great from everyone else. Like, it wasn't bad, but it wasn't great. Like, it didn't leave a bad taste in my mouth. It just kind of left me not wanting to watch another Wonder Woman movie. And that really, really bums me out because I love Wonder Woman.
Mm-hmm.
She is one of my favorite characters. She has been growing up. Like, I was so jazzed when she got her own movie finally. And even then, like, the first movie I liked a lot. I felt it could have been a bit better, but I still really liked it. And this one, it could have been a lot better. And it was trying to have fun, and I get that, but at the same time, your movie still has to make sense when you're trying to have fun.
Yeah, there has to be logic things, yeah.
The fact that I think in the movie they reference it's been about 60 years. Or
well,
over
yeah,
60
from
years
World War I to
1984.
Yeah.
And there's been only 6 sightings, because they say half a dozen. There's half a dozen sightings of this weird Wonder Woman lady. There's only been 6 sightings of her, even though then they show photo evidence of her not only being at World War I, but also World War II. Like she's been around, and like I don't understand. Like what was with her trying to keep pride? She's in a crowded mall, but she continuously, anytime she does stuff in front of adults, she then tells the children, "This is our secret." Or like, be quiet about this. Like, no, like these grown adults saw you do this. This isn't a secret thing.
Yeah.
Why are you telling these kids that, hey, this is a secret? Like, no, it made it hard for me to believe that no one heard of Wonder Woman by the time Batman v Superman rolled around.
Mm-hmm.
This movie could have easily taken place in 2020, 2019, and it would have been the exact same movie.
I
Like
agree.
nothing would have
The
changed.
1984 thing didn't really matter.
It was
It
them
had
trying to
no consequence at all.
it was them trying to hop on the popularity of the 80s. That's 100% all it
Yeah, that's
was.
yeah, 100%. Yeah.
Like it just the opening scene made no sense. I don't know why it was even there except for like cuz they didn't even reference it again until the end when she says the line from the opening scene to Kristen Wiig in that fight.
Yeah.
Like, but you know what the opening should have been? It should have been like a flashback story of like the golden armor thing. It should have
Oh
been
yeah,
like
that
a
would have been
whole
cool.
like that would have been better. That would have been a cool thing to set up, and then you actually have that play into the plot more rather than just being a toy for
Hmm.
one scene. Also, her swinging from lightning was really hyped up in the trailer, and then like really was in the movie for what we saw in the trailer.
Exactly, and it was
Like,
kind of like it was such an odd thing because like I feel like they just this is just like I'll share my opinions when I like when it kind of gets when you're done there, but that lightning scene, if I'm remembering correctly, kind of makes no effing sense. Like they just put it in there because it looked cool. Because she's like doing her like flying thing. Okay, never mind.
oh yeah,
Wonder
she get.
Woman spoilers. So in case you actually care, again, I'll just
I
put
mean,
a
like I've been spoiling
timestamp
things
below
already.
for spoiler. I know, and I forgot to say something, but now I'm saying it now because we're gonna get deeper into spoilers as we keep going. So there will be a link to the on the other side of Wonder Woman if you care. Um, we have spoiler warnings everywhere. Whatever, it's fine. It's fine. It's fine. Um, but like, cause she like just like figured out how to fly, and it looks like she's
Also,
on.
since when can she fly?
Yeah.
Since when
Also,
can she
that
fly?
also made no sense. But okay. So here's the thing. She's like learned. She's doing her like weird fly thing, right? And
Yeah,
it looks like she's going to where like Pedro Pascal's character is, because it's like all stormy over there and shit, right? Like, and she's like going on the lightning swinging over, and it looks like that's where she's going. And then it's like not psych. She's actually going home to get the armor, and then she shows up at that base immediately. And I was
oh
like,
yeah,
so like, what? Why would you make it look like she's going on her way to confront the villain when she actually still has to go home to get the armor? Like
because
they're
she's the
just like,
daughter of Zeus, and they need to remind you she's the daughter of Zeus without actually setting that up at all.
I know, but it was like it was just like a weird like editing choice.
Oh yeah,
Because like, why wouldn't you at least, if you're gonna have her swinging from lightning, have her swinging from lightning in the armor? But they want to have the first shot of the armor like when she lands, like the money shot, right? So like, well, we can't have her swinging from the lightning in the armor. We'll just have her swinging from the lightning in her normal suit. Do a quick cut to actually. That whole situation was like going home, which really should have taken her 10 seconds from wherever, like her little area in DC. She should have been able to get home like immediately by flight, and then we'll have like this extended part of her going to the base. It
but
was just like a weird thing. Like for me, it's like they're like, we need to have the lightning thing. F if it makes any sense to like the whole time of how things are working out here.
her flying made no sense to me because it went from being like and she's been able to fly in the comics before. That's fine, but like it went from being like, oh, she uses the lasso like Mjolnir, where she like uses that to carry her. Oh
Yeah.
wait, no, she just grapples onto things. Which that if she's grappling onto a plane to fly, that plane is gonna die because she just completely threw it off its trajectory. And then like, oh, but she can swing on lightning. Okay, that also I guess is weird. And then there was also she's just falling with style. And it's like I was so confused by the mechanics of it, and it doesn't make sense because we've never seen her fly in two sequels.
Yeah, that's true.
And that doesn't make sense. Why are you introducing new powers for a character?
Beforehand.
And that's why again this movie would have made more sense if it took place after.
Yeah.
Also, since when can she make things invisible? Like
Since this movie.
it's okay. There is one superhero who you can technically get away with introducing new powers for, but that's because that's his superpower since the dawn of time, and that is Superman. Superman's power is the writers. Whatever the writers come up with, that's his power. And it's even then, as time has evolved, he still has a very set thing of powers. He has a very set, limited type of
And
powers.
he gets new stuff here or there, but he's like a constantly evolving character because of
It's
his like
heat
alien
vision,
genetics
cold
and
breath,
whatever, right? Like really.
heat vision, cold breath, flight, invulnerability, super
Yeah.
strength. That's really it. That's really his main ones. But Wonder Woman, there should be some consistency, and you would expect that with the writing too, because of, again, it's what Wonder Woman should be, and like that's where like I don't expect a perfect movie every time that one is made for
Yeah.
her, but it just felt like they didn't know what they were doing. It didn't feel like they knew what story they were
Mhm.
telling, and I don't know where it was lost. I don't know if it had to do with the production team, had to do with the studio, the directing, the writing. I don't know,
It makes you wonder too
but it
because it
was a
was like
mess.
obviously delayed so long because of the pandemic. It's like it's did they change it in between, right? Like or did they like add different things or decide to like mess with stuff like because sometimes that happens, right? Like you finish something, but then you're like, let me just jump in here and tweak this little thing or tweak that thing. Like, I don't know. I'm not saying it happened. I'm curious if the delay had anything to do with like
Well,
the because some things, yeah, it felt like they were part of one movie but didn't quite belong in the movie that was, you know what
well,
I mean? Like,
the Pedro Pascal stuff all felt very disjointed from Wonder Woman until they met up at the end. Like it felt like they were in two different movies. And like to me, and same thing with Kristen Wiig, it felt like she was in a different movie. Like all of the characters were just in their own different movies, and it and the message seemed weird too. Like the whole like you need to let go of your deepest wish sometimes, but it's like okay, I guess.
no, but that wasn't even like
But
like yeah, the message was really bumbled.
one like
Like
I
I'll
love
tell kind of
Chris.
when it's when I go through my experience, I'll kind of explain like what I took out of the film because I thought there was actually some really well done things in there and some like powerful aspects. But again, like we talked, it's like all subjective, right? Like, and I'm looking through it from different like viewpoints and stuff. But I thought there were certain things that they did do really well, or like, and I'll get into that in a sec. But
the
yeah.
the Chris Pine story. The Chris Pine story was really weird. I don't like. I like having him back. I like him as
Hmm.
an actor, but they could have just made him like, hey, this is Steve Trevor's nephew. They kind of look the same. Cool. And Diana could be like, oh, it's reincarnation this whole time, but instead it's like he possesses some other dude's body.
Yeah.
And there's been a lot of people actually upset about that because it's basically like, oh, they had sex
Yeah,
in
you
another
like pretty
dude's
much just
body.
raped this dude.
Yeah, like that's okay. Like, woof, I guess. Like, and it's again like it just felt really. The rules seemed really weird too. Like the rules of the wishing seemed weird and
There was no
inconsistent,
rules. That's the problem.
and like it just felt like
They broke in this
it.
film. They definitely broke the rule of like you can have what any rule you want in your fictional universe. You just can't break the rules you set yourself. And then they just kept doing that. And you're like, okay, how does this exactly
Well,
work? It doesn't even make sense.
it definitely felt like, and again, I don't know what level this was at. I don't know if this was at the studio level or below it or anything like that. But it definitely felt like whoever was in charge had the feeling that because they made the first Wonder Woman, because they produced the first Wonder Woman, that they could do whatever they wanted and it would be great
Yeah.
for this film. And that's kind of the feeling that I had. Is it's like, oh, I guess we can do anything now because the first one was a success, so we can just it's fine.
Mhm.
But it's like, no, you still got to put thought and effort
Yeah.
behind it. It was less of a mess than Suicide Squad, but it was by far the messiest film that I've seen. I still haven't seen Birds of Prey. I need to see that one. That's one that's on my list
Yeah, that one wasn't
because I want
really
to formulate an
great.
opinion around
Yeah.
it. I need to formulate an opinion on it. And I'm kind of curious now to see if I like it better than Wonder Woman or not.
Ewan
But
McGregor was
like
fantastic in that one.
it again like it felt, and I know like Kristen Wiig I know is a great actress, and it felt like her character was wasted because they didn't go far enough. They didn't go far enough with Cheetah. Like why didn't she just straight up murder a guy? Like they almost tried to make her redeemable, and it's like, okay, yeah, but like no, like her justifying her actions of like, well, this guy was being a creep to me and her was harassing me, so I beat the crap out of him, but then she stopped. Like, no, like she should have gone that extra mile and she should have gone too far. She should have crossed the line. And like I feel like they wasted that. And I know she can do it. I've seen her act in other things and she's great. I think she did really well at the serious stuff. I think she was really good being serious. They just didn't do enough with her character. I'm trying to remember if there's any other characters, but I think those are the main four. Was Pedro Pascal, Chris Pine, Gal Gadot, and also like they ended the movie the exact same way they ended the first one, with Gal Gadot just talking to people and convincing them, "Hey, this is wrong." And it's like, okay, but but that's exactly how you handled the first. Is this every Wonder Woman movie? Is she's just gonna talk them down? Because like, I guess that's the same as every movie ending with a fight for the other superhero films, but like, that's what I'm saying is you can have some diversity within your heroes and how they interact with things. I'd be fine if Batman talked down a villain rather than punched him in the face. I'm very tired of punch in the face Batman, because that's been Batman for the last 16 years at least. Like at least like I'm gonna go to Batman Forever for this, and this is not a good example, but at least he outsmarted the villains in Batman Forever.
True.
Like he didn't have to punch Harvey or the Riddler in the face. He literally just let the Riddler kind of like screw himself up, and then he kind of murdered Harvey, but we don't want to talk about it. Man, what's with the movies and having him kill Harvey? Like,
just has a hate on for Harvey Dent. Harvey Dent.
Like it's one of those things of like it's. I'm tired of the superhero films always, and it's with most superhero films. They always end the same way because it's the same. Oh well, I don't know how to write this character to do something different than what they've already done. So, and then they fight.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, okay, but like, let's shake things up a bit.
Right.
Let's try something new. And the talking was good in the first Wonder Woman, but again, it's like the same. Like it didn't need to happen again. It was weird, and I wanted to like it. I wanted to really like it.
Yeah, I don't really remember that much about the first Wonder Woman. It didn't really stick with me. Like, even though like everyone loved it, it was not one of my favorite movies. That's for sure. It was okay, but I'm like, I didn't find it as groundbreaking as everyone said it was.
It got a pass for what it was more than for how good it was. And to me, I think it was good, but I think it could have been a lot better.
Sure.
And that's just, again, that's as a Wonder Woman fanboy.
Yeah.
I just want, there are certain characters that I want them to have the best, and Wonder Woman's one of them. Batman's the other. Spider-Man's the other. I mean, any of the, honestly, even last episode, any of the characters I got giddy about, like She-Hulk. She-Hulk deserves the best show, and I'm so stoked for it, and I'm hoping for the best.
Yeah.
Like, there are certain characters you can tell for me that that they matter, and Wonder Woman's one of them, and that's why this one bums me out, because like I friggin' love that character, and she's been portrayed so well so many times, and then unfortunately so terribly so many other times. And this isn't a terrible portrayal. I'm not saying this one's one of the terrible ones, but this one is very much a middle of the road meh.
Fair enough.
How about you?
For me, when it comes to this film, a couple of things I just want to point out before I really get into how I'm like what I think about this movie. Number one, I'm not coming in as a big Wonder Woman fan. I didn't read her comics. I didn't really follow her character too much. Like through like the anime like series and stuff like that. Like I didn't have a lot of exposure to Wonder Woman. Not like Batman, not like Superman, not like Spider-Man. You know what I mean? Like not like those other guys. So I'm coming in on this very much like I don't have the expectations a lot of people have, which is fair. Like you love Wonder Woman. She means something to you. The character means something. And there's a lot of people who feel the exact same way as you do, where these characters mean something and they feel like she's been done a disservice to her character. And that very well may be true, but I'm coming in, I just want to state the fact, I'm coming in as not from that mindset for sure. Other thing is too, I watched it in the movie theater, which was actually pretty awesome and also might have affected how I felt about the movie because I haven't been to a movie theater since the very beginning of 2020. So it was really like almost a year since I've been in a movie theater, and I love going to the movies. My cousin, he was able to like rent out like the whole theater, not like the whole building, but like one of the cinemas there. And it was like for like a special that was on for like 20 to 20 some people to get in together in public, and you all obviously sat like spaced into your like family pods and groups or whatever. But no, it was like it was a great experience. They did a great job. Did you know like the Coke machine they have there now, you can actually like control it with your phone? Like you scan a barcode and you can like do all the flavors and stuff and pour it from your phone. I was like, this is dope as hell, man. So I had a lot of fun with that.
That's I don't know if I like that, but at the same time, that's really
It
cool.
was really cool. And as soon as someone scans it, like it kicks the other person out. So it's not like someone could like steal your machine kind of thing and control it on you.
Yeah,
But it's a really cool idea, obviously, for a pandemic time. It was a great, I thought it was fun. So that's the other aspect I just wanted to throw in there too. Like it's not like I watched it at home with like one buddy. I got to go see it with my wife and my daughter in a movie theater, as well as a lot of my other family members. So that definitely had something to do with it. Um okay, just in general, how I'm feeling about this thing. I would say, listen, I'm not coming here and I'm not saying it's great. Okay, let's just be clear about that. I don't think this was even a very good movie. I think this was like slightly better than the most middling movie. Like if you were saying like 1 to 10, like this would be like 5.5. Like it just barely inched over that like halfway point. And I think the film could have been way, way better. I think there was a lot of elements there for a lot of potential, especially when you're looking at the like the storytelling and the writing. But it was just so wasted and so thrown away, and the movie had so many other problems that just got in the way of it being really, really entertaining and really good. Um, First, other thing I want to say is I feel like this is a movie. It feels to me when I was watching it like I was watching something written by two completely different people in two completely different rooms in two completely different cities, not communicating with each other whatsoever.
yeah.
Because, like, and that's what I felt like. I felt like it was a story of two different writers, two different ideas being smashed together, and they just didn't fit. Because there were just a lot of aspects that I really did quite enjoy, and I thought were fairly well thought out and done. Number one, I guess I want to say the theme was kind of a weird issue, and I mentioned that when you were talking about it, because at the beginning of the movie they're like, "Don't lie, it's all about the truth," kind of thing. But then that theme kind of gets mixed up with the wishes. Like it's not like a very clear 1 to 1. You know what I mean? Like the
Yeah.
lie and the truth versus like their wishes and what they want. And they're saying like, well, the wish technically isn't true. It's technically kind of a lie, but like it's a real thing that's happening. So is it really a lie? You know what I mean? Like it's kind of like it doesn't really translate well. So like what they're telling you is the theme. To me, when I watched the film, wasn't the theme. Like that
Yeah.
wasn't what that wasn't what these stories were about, because it didn't, like, you can make it work and fit into it, but you got to do a little bit of gymnastics and bend a little bit. Oh, from this point of view, sure, okay, that would make sense. But it wasn't a nice clean translation. That would make sense down the road. So that's the first thing. I thought the theme was messy, and the theme that they gave us and told us what the movie was about didn't really make quite enough sense to make it work. The second thing, I thought the three main characters, and I'm talking about Cheetah, Pedro Pascal's
Max
Maxwell
Lord.
Lord, and obviously Wonder Woman. I thought those characters were all felt fairly well written. And now I'm not talking about from the perspective of the comic book characters or what come before, because again, Maxwell Lord, that means nothing to me. Like I know of the character, but I don't know like the depth of like who that character generally is or like what he does, right?
You
Um
you want to know something quick about him?
was that?
He starts out as like a friend of the Justice League,
Yeah.
and then he manipulates the crap out of them, murders one of them, and then manipulates Wonder Woman so far that she murders him on live television.
Oh, nice.
To specific, and he planned that specifically so that the Justice League would be thought of as monsters.
Yeah.
And that's the Maxwell Lord I wanted to see.
A very smart, sneaky, manipulative. And I see where they got the wishes from then, the wish thing. But again, that's a total skewed version of that.
But even if they would have if what I was hoping they would do is make this one he's Maxwell Lord Senior, and then in the future movies we get Maxwell Lord Junior played by. And I knew we knew he had a son, but then his son's name wasn't Max, and it's
not even close.
Dang it.
Okay, no, fair enough. But I thought their character arcs and their journeys, from a human perspective, I just connected with those three characters on such a human level. And to me, the theme became not so much about oh, the lies are bad and truth is good. That didn't seem to me to be the theme. What seemed to me, it seemed to be a situation where the movie became a warning to how our wants and desires can push us and control us to make us forget the things that are important, forget who we are, throw away our ethics and morals for that which we want. And then completely forget of the person we are. And I think those three characters kind of consume that, because it wasn't about necessarily a lie and the truth. It was each about what they wanted most in their lives coming to them, and then that obsessive pursuit becoming more and more obsessive as it came on. Cheetah, she was just this nerdy, no one noticed her, no one cared about her. All she wanted in her life was to be heard, to be seen. All of a sudden, she's getting heard and seen, but a little bit's not enough. She keeps pushing it more and more and more and further, right? And obviously there's a cost to that on the other side, which was her pursuit of that. She was losing who she was as a human being. She lost her joy, she lost her cheerfulness, she lost her love, and became more vicious, became more angry, became a killer. I think I can't remember this part, but didn't she kill someone in the White House? Did she not kill anyone in the White House? Any of those guards?
I don't know if she did. I think it was it could be implied, but I don't remember anyone really dying.
Yeah, I'd have to watch it again, but I don't really want to. But I'd have to watch that scene again. But I actually thought, in contrary to you, where I thought you thought she should have killed that guy. I thought it was very much implied that she would have killed that guy if that other hobo dude didn't kind of remind her who you are just for a sec, right? To stop the fight.
Well, it was...
So I think they did actually quite well gradual evolution into who she became at the end. The CGI though on her was pretty bad at the end of the day.
It wasn't consistent.
No, but I think her character arc, and again, what she wanted the most and what she was driven towards, she pursued that at the cost of who she was as a human being, right? And I found that a really intriguing idea.
But she was such a secondary character though. And I don't mean secondary. I mean almost tertiary. She started out with her being a main focus, and then she
was definitely a third villain, side villain.
She
was never the big villain in that film.
And she should have been. She became Maxwell Lord's lackey.
Well, and okay, but yeah, and this is why my points slightly different, because I agree Cheetah for sure as a character deserves more of a spotlight and probably should have had the spotlight over Maxwell Lord, or at least should have been 50-50 kind of thing. But again, this is coming from an angle, not necessarily, because that's again a lot of things I see online is people saying, oh, it should have been this and it should have been that. I'm not coming from a perspective thinking it should have been this when I was watching it, right? I'm just watching these characters grow and develop, not really having the background or comic book knowledge of them, but just as human beings, as human characters, evolve and change and make that compromise to get what they want, to chase that dream. So for me, I thought all three of those character arcs were great. Pedro Pascal's character, Maxwell Lord, all he wanted was to not be a loser, for his son to love him. And obviously for me, that was super impactful, because I know you're not a dad yet, but all you want, really, you want your kids to love you. You want your kids to also be not only do you want to be proud of your kids, but you want your kids to be proud to say like, that's my dad, that's my mom. Like, you don't want your kid to be like, oh, my dad's a loser, I don't want to bring him to show and tell and talk about a job. You know what I mean? Like, so for me, that like just really impacted me, because this guy's been trying all his life to uh to not be like that loser type of character, and all he wants is his son's love. And what does he do? So of course he chases like success and the fame and the money and being number one, but he does that at the cost of what's really important to him, his son.
Yeah.
Right? And they clearly show that, because what brings him back from the edge, his son. It's not the fact that he's living a lie, it's his son, what's truly important to him, right?
And that's where his arc, to me, it almost would have worked, like the story they told with him, it almost would have worked as its own movie and not a Wonder Woman
But
movie.
and that's the thing, right? For a lot of people. So again, not as a like comic book character, like or like with non-knowledge of these characters. Again, just coming from a writing and a very human perspective, I thought that was so well written and well done. Again, not maybe as Maxwell Lord from the comic books. Like again, they could have just
Oh no, I
called
mean
him
like
anything else, right?
I mean in general, like I think, and I'm talking like even from a writing standpoint, like to me the story was so complete on its own that I think it could have been a strong enough movie on its own to tell that kind of story without shoehorning it into a Wonder Woman movie.
But
You
I
know,
didn't
like
feel
the story they were telling was
and
bigger than just
well,
superhero
yeah,
movie.
exactly. And honestly, that's what they were telling with Cheetah, with him, but also with Wonder Woman too, right? Because what was her want? Her want was to get back the only love of her life, and they've made that very, very clear through the beginning, through the middle, even willing to risk her own moral code. And that's kind of what I found like interesting, like because a lot of people say online like oh yeah, she pretty much like raped this guy, and like it's terrible, and it is terrible when you think about it. It's like, yeah, that's pretty much the worst. And like Wonder Woman would not do that. She has moral codes and shit. And like to me that was kind of the point. Like she was, in exchange for what she wants, she was willing to throw away like her morality, her code, the way she lived her life, in exchange for what she wanted. And again, the further they pursued these things, the further away they became separated from that other aspect of themselves that they were willing to sacrifice. So I think this story really, and I'm not saying and don't confuse me, I'm not saying the overall story of the film. I'm saying literally these three specific character arcs are telling a story that's more than just what's in comic books. And it is a little deeper, and it is more human than it is what we'd expect from our comic book. Well,
Well,
not what we
and
expect from our
like as a
comic book characters, but specifically what we expect maybe from those comic book characters. Like, I think to do that, I think it would have been a really interesting movie if you brought the scale down and it wasn't a superhero movie, but it was about just three characters and their wants, and like also separating in those same ways. Like, I think there's a really interesting story and idea there.
but like and like as a again as a comic book fan, I disagree with you with that kind of assessment of comic books, because I think the more interesting comic books are ones where you break down your characters and they are just
Yeah.
humans. Because that happens in comics all the time. The problem with this one is they tried to do grandiose as well as tell a personal
and
story, and
that's
like you can do
and
that.
that's what I'm saying. Like this was a movie with two different, like completely two different
and
ways, and that's what I'm saying. Because I'm not
and
saying
you can still do it as a superhero movie, but again they went for such a big flashy, like, look at us, we're doing Wonder Woman in the 80s, and it's like, okay, but like what does that have to do with like the core of the story?
right,
Because
exactly.
again, this story that
And well,
it goes back, like the 80s didn't need to be a
let
part
me
of
get
it.
into like the rest of my like assessment of this film, because I'm not even talking about specifically the whole film, and I'm not talking about like the overall arcing story of the film. I'm literally talking about those three characters, and I actually
Yeah,
think
and
those
that's
three characters, their arcs, their motivations, their beliefs, and kind of the theme between what was really going on in that film was really well written. Just on those three characters, though, just on those three characters and aspects, everything else in this film was kind of a mess. And everything involving those three characters, like the quieter moments, the more human, personal moments in this film, I thought were really good. anytime Wonder Woman showed up, the movie hit the bricks hard. Like it just started shitting the bed. Number one, I had issues with just like the motion and like the like whatever like the rope wire work they were doing for Wonder Woman and the CGI. Like it looked
The running.
ridiculous. It looked, I don't know if they're trying to do like an 80s, like this is maybe what it looked like in the 80s if we made it then or something. I don't know what they're trying to do there, but it was terrible. And then this is where you get to the other part of the movie because, like you said, everything just became too much. It just became too much. It was just like ridiculous. It was messy. The characters, or not specifically the characters, but like the logic and the logic of the film didn't make sense. Again, they were trying to squish in a theme and saying lying is bad. It's about the truth. But again, to make that work, even with the film, you have to do some like crazy gymnastics and bending to make that actually fit with the film. And then at the end, instead of having like this, because again, I agree with you. This movie should have been much smaller, focused, and should have been really character based. Right? It didn't need to be
Well, it
big
could have
and
been a lot
grand.
shorter
Yes,
too.
exactly. But instead, what does it all devolve back down to? Oh, nukes. Oh, everything's falling apart. Catastrophe around the world. Like, not every superhero needs to save the world, man. Like, not every time does there need to be nukes. Not every time does there need to be like a world ending event, man. Like, let's just like tell this nice personal story. Maybe the risk is your humanity. The risk and the not the consequences, but the what word am I thinking of, Ethan? Oh, damn it. Um, well, okay. Anyway, the scale of the film, like, what's that? Oh, the stakes. There we go. There we go. I knew if I just started talking, I'd
Yeah.
figure it out. The stakes of the film don't have to be world ending. Like the stakes should have been them losing their pieces of humanity, like them losing themselves to like this want. And it would even made more sense with Cheetah because she literally becomes a freaking cheetah, man. Like there was aspects of it that really would have worked, but again, it just all devolved into nonsense. And that's my biggest problem with the film. Like the writing from certain aspects of it, I felt was really, really good and really thought out. And then there's other stuff that was just like, is this even the same person? Is this even the same person writing this thing right now? Like that's just what it felt like to me.
Because to me, like the core of the story should have been Cheetah gaining powers, Wonder Woman losing her powers, and that dichotomy and those two going at it while they're both going in reverse directions. In the meantime, Maxwell Lord could have been a background character who still had that arc, but didn't quite realize what exactly his powers were and what they were doing. Right? And I feel like you could have achieved the same story and the same character moments, and on a much more personal scale, as you said, without being a world-ending threat. It could have just been about those three
like
characters.
Yeah, and it's not like I hate, like it's not like I'm like, oh, world-ending events bad. But again, not every movie needs to have that. And then how it just evolved into like stupidity, right? Like it literally became Bruce Almighty. It literally became Bruce Almighty. And like you can't tell me in the future of the DCEU that no one remembers any of that shit happening. It was just in 1984, bro.
Yep.
You don't remember a giant wall just popping up in the middle of Afghanistan or wherever the hell they were? Like you don't bro, I wasn't paying that close attention clearly. I was like more thinking about the characters. But you don't tell me like people don't remember like wishing for things and like chaos and like utter destruction and almost everyone almost nuking each other and nukes showing up out of nowhere. Like you can't, like no one remembers that shit, and it just evolved into utter chaos for the sake of utter chaos. Like it wasn't, they forgot about the characters. Just ridiculous stuff started happening. There was like no logic. I mean, at the beginning of the movie, Wonder Woman's like, I don't even own TVs. Then turns out she has a storage room full of TVs, man, that she uses to like watch people with. You know what I mean?
In the world.
Like it's just like, and even like obviously like Wonder Woman doesn't. I guess she doesn't have to tell the truth, but like that was kind of the point of the movie. So if you can't tell the truth about the little things, you told me lies are bad, also, and then she's lying first 10 seconds of the movie. Come on.
Okay, on a completely side, like maybe a side note, but like part of the movie,
I just felt it was two different writers Felt like two different movies
an
smashed
op.
together.
So like, quick question for you. Maybe you have an answer for me. In that opening montage of people, breaking the law and then Wonder Woman
Yeah.
stopping them, what was the point of showing those girls shoplifting?
Like no, like
Because they shoplifted and then they ran and knocked over a bride, and she saved the bride, but then the girls got away with shoplifting. That's a good message, I guess.
like I said, I thought there was the only thing that I thought was really good was the character moments and the arcs between specifically those three, like not even between the characters, but just their own personal inner journeys, right? Between those in those three
Well,
characters.
I
And I
think
thought everything else was a mess. Like that's why I said it barely creeped over. I thought there was things good enough to get it halfway, but then after that, it's like, what am I watching? Like the rest of it was just so
like
bad. Even Steve Trevor, who was played like Chris Pine, man, like he's an amazing actor. And he just had like I thought he did a great job being like, oh, 80s stuff. Oh, this is crazy. But like they just brought him in literally to be a prop. Like his character was just a prop. So they could be like, look, 80s fun nostalgia, fish out of water, kind of like we did in the first movie, but now it's different. And why'd you have to have him in a different body? Like just put him back in his. Just
like I
let his
that was
body.
the that was
If
the
nukes
weirdest
can
thing
just
is
show
like,
up out of nowhere, why couldn't his body just
why couldn't
recreate
he?
itself? Like,
Well, because then you couldn't have that moment at the end where she might move
yeah, and
on.
like
Maybe.
smiles at the guy. She's probably like, I've seen your dick. You know what I mean? Like, and this guy's probably like, oh man, I should bang that chick. Like, surprise, you have plot twist. But
Well, that's the weird thing too. Is
it is so
like, so this guy
nonsensical.
just blacked out for. Did that guy just black out for like
And was
3
like, what the
days?
hell? Yeah, probably. Can you
Like
imagine turning
that's
on the news being like, we just avoided a nuclear war? Like, what the hell happened? Like,
what drugs did I do? I know it's the 80s, but how
and the funniest
much?
thing is too, I guess he wouldn't even turn on the news and like see that because he would have like she renounced her wish in the middle of that shit show. Could you imagine going to bed one day and then like literally waking up in the middle of that shit show, just standing in the street with this kid? Like, what is going on? Like, there's just and I will like defend my observations and my opinions on those three characters because I think actually what they put at stake was really well done with those characters. But I think that should have been the heart of the story and the heart of the message, not this
They
weird
should have
lie thing
simplified
and
it.
not this turning into utter chaos and just ridiculousness. And again, logic
Again,
with the wishes and how that actually works, making sense and no sense and like apparently like you have to touch people and he's like, "Oh, so satellite particles technically count?" It's like maybe that like that shouldn't have been a thing that actually works. You know what I mean? Like that's ridiculous. But
well, and like again, like I think they could have even spent the first 20 minutes just building up the friendship between Diana and Cheetah.
yeah.
Like actually building and make it a more mutual friendship rather than like Diana only hanging out with this girl either because she wished for it or
She
because
wanted to know more
like that
about
was
that piece
confused.
or whatever. And
It's
that's
like did
again like what I'm saying. Like I just feel like every time something in this movie, like there is things that I felt were like right on, that there was an idea, there was a vision, there was care taken. And then there was other things that was like, again, is this the same person writing this? Because this feels like the difference between if I wrote something and then I was like, here you or you wrote something, like if we wrote a story together, Ethan, but we didn't talk about it, we just sat in our houses, wrote together, and then we're like, now we shall combine them. Because like uh
let's
even
just go
Wonder
film this
Woman,
right now.
to like this chick who she knew was like a nerd and like like kind of invisible, like she's getting attention from Maxwell Lord and she comes in and just decides to be like a huge bee. You know what I mean? Like, and she didn't have motivation to do that. She just all of a sudden didn't like this, just, it was just some of the things, like this movie did things that were really good, I thought, especially from a character perspective, especially from like that in those inner conflicts. But anything that was outside of those inner conflicts and those inner arcs were just either wasted, useless, or just a mess and stupid. Like honestly, anytime Wonder Woman showed up were my least favorite parts of the movie. Not Diana Prince, but when Wonder Woman showed up, it was my least favorite parts of the movie. Every time. So, yeah. It really was for me like
He was
it
meh.
was like, yeah, that's a good way to say meh. There was things I really thought were really good and had a lot of potential. There was things I thought were just a total shit show. Like even if it would have been more logical and would have made more sense, like it's not even just the stakes. Like if it would have got that big, okay, but if it would have made sense and was done and executed properly. And that's the thing about movies too. It's not just about writing, it's about execution, right? And I thought most of the acting was fairly on point for the most part. Um, with a couple like things here and there that I was kind of like, okay, but no, just a very middling movie. But like, I've never felt so strongly for and against a movie that I was like, I'm so middle of the road on. You know what I mean? Like, it's
Yeah.
odd because like I will like go to bat from like I thought like the character parts were great and I thought like the inner journeys were great, but like everything else I freaking hated. Like it just like and again not even the writing, but it's like the execution of so many things is like oh my gosh, like her running through the streets was just ridiculous. Like some of the CGI and the
Oh yeah.
looking of the action was just
I haven't seen running like that since Twilight.
like it was just what year are we living in, and what have you been doing during this whole break? It makes me wonder. Like that's what makes me think they were messing around with things because it's like you couldn't have made that look better. This movie got delayed for like a year almost. Like we couldn't have made that look better. So
Nope.
anyway, that's Wonder Woman 1984. I don't know how we were talking about that. It was a while. Um, Should we move on to another divisive topic? I like when we don't 100% agree on things. This is very interesting.
Do we want to go to do we want to go to a divisive topic again, or do we want to talk about the movies we saw and then end with?
Mm, yeah, let's quickly break down the movies we saw, I think. It's a good idea. Um,
You want to go? You want to go first? You want me to go first? What you want to do? What you want to do,
uh,
bud?
you know what? You can go first. I've been ripping on Wonder Woman 84 here for a sec. So, for a sweet sec here, I'll let you go first. Oh, just wait. Pause that for a sec. Viewer engagement. What did you guys think of Wonder Woman 84? If you have watched it, let us know down in the comment section below. Okay, continue on.
Um. Well, I watched some of the Christmas movies we talked about. Like I watched Die Hard, Krampus, and Sound of Music. And honestly, so Die Hard was interesting to watch because it 100% doesn't start out as a Christmas movie, but it 100% ends as a Christmas movie.
Sure,
The
yeah.
beginning, even
Okay, I can get
like
that.
the way they shoot it's not a Christmas movie. They don't start with a Christmas song. The first Christmas song you hear is Christmas in Hollis, which sounds more like a rap song than a Christmas song.
Yeah, true
Even the
that.
Christmas trees and stuff like that are in the background that show up aren't lit, and they're not the main
Mm-hmm.
focus. They shoot it very much with orange lighting, so it's more of a summertime feel. Like it was interesting to watch because it was very much as the movie progressed, it became more Christmassy. Again,
Right.
it was interesting to watch. I still don't think it's necessarily a Christmas movie specifically, but I think it definitely has important ties to Christmas.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Then I watched Krampus, Sound of Music, just classics in general. That was kind of the Christmas stuff that I watched this year or this month, I guess.
Yeah.
Um, Unexpected Christmas movies were Trading Places, and I guess it's Thanksgiving, but it's holidays. Planes, Trains, and Automobiles. I saw those two for the first time,
Okay.
and
Yeah.
those were fun. Good comedies I wasn't expecting. Oh, also good comedies I wasn't expecting was also Groundhog Day. Saw that for the
Oh,
first.
wait, you wait. Like that was the first time
I've
watching
never seen
Groundhog Day.
Groundhog Day.
Oh my god.
I haven't seen actually Trading
No
Places or
way.
Planes, Trains, and Automobiles either.
Well, yeah, I didn't see those
But
either,
like,
so I can't say
but
anything.
Groundhog Day
Groundhog
was
Day.
amazing. It was
It
so
is. It
good,
really is.
and
It
like
really is.
it was the least. It was the least Bill Murray performance I've seen Bill Murray do.
Fair enough.
and like it worked,
Sure, I'll give you
and
that. I'll give you that.
it was funny, and it was heartbreaking. Like that whole montage of him trying to save the homeless man from dying, like that wrecked me. Like that was not okay. I was very upset. Like it was, but it was really good. Like it's one of
Hmm.
those ones that like I'd easily go back and watch it again. Like
Yeah.
highly recommend. Um, we also watched Rebel Without a Cause, which is just fun and classic movie. Great Escape and Dirty Dozen, two classic war movies that I'd never seen before, which are phenomenal. Highly recommend. If you like
Hmm.
longer war movies,
Yeah.
um,
I cannot comment on those. I have not seen them. I
they're
don't know.
good. I think you'd enjoy them. Again, it depends if you like movies from like the '60s and stuff.
Fair enough.
Um, I watched some classic John Hughes films, Pretty in Pink and 16 Candles, and they were good. They weren't. I don't see as much of the appeal as some other people do, but they had some genuinely good moments,
Hmm.
and like they're fun. They're '80s movies. I watched War Games, which was another '80s movie,
Oh my
and that
god,
one I
do we
really enjoyed.
we are nowhere near in the same. We've not watched like any of the same stuff so far. Interesting. Okay.
I've honestly a lot of what I've been watching lately in general is older movies. I haven't been watching a lot of new stuff. I've been
Hmm.
watching movies I haven't seen before
Yeah,
from previous generations.
for sure.
But War Games was an unsuspecting hit for me. Like, and it really just I really liked it, and I want to get it on Blu-ray, but it doesn't exist on Blu-ray right now.
Ooh,
I'm very upset by that.
it's not me.
Um, Shanghai Noon, I revisited that after years,
Oh
and
man.
honestly, I don't know why people don't talk about it more. Because it's a good Western. Like, it's not a good, like, it's a good, okay, it's not a good Western, it's a good Jackie Chan Western. It's a great Jackie Chan movie.
Sorry, I just
And
yep. Keep going. I just remembered something else I watched, but yeah, keep going.
and I don't know why more people don't talk about it because it was fun. It's him and his chemistry with Owen Wilson is hilarious. Like they just have a good back and forth. I haven't watched Shanghai Nights yet, but I should because it's you know next in line for that. But it was
That
really
one's good
fun.
too. That one's pretty good too. Yeah.
Um,
That's like in
Palm
the era of
Springs.
like those Jackie Chan, like he would just show up in like buddy cop movies and stuff.
Yeah, it was
Kind
great.
of thing, yeah.
Palm Springs. It's an Amazon movie with Andy Samberg,
Hmm. I
and
don't even think I've heard of that.
it's basically it's like a time loop movie, but it's just look it up. Just look it up and watch it. I don't want to say anything more about
Okay.
it.
Okay, fair enough. Palm
But like
Springs.
Palm Springs, highly recommend. Really fun. Amazon Prime, go and watch it.
Okay.
Um,
Oh, we do have Amazon Prime now.
Possibly controversial opinion. I watched Tenant.
Oh, I haven't seen that one either.
I don't know if I want to say anything because I don't know if I want to skew your opinion or not.
Yeah, I've seen a lot of opinions though, and not like all of them super great for the most part. Actually, I think like most of the opinions I've seen, people haven't like overly enjoyed it. I don't know. I haven't looked at like Rotten Tomatoes. I'm not sure exactly where it's standing right now, as far as like critics and like viewer, you know,
I
opinions on it.
I really like the concept. I really like the concept. The execution was bad.
Hmm.
It was very convoluted, not well explained. The acting was very meh. Like the two most enjoyable actors in it was Kenneth Branagh and Robert Pattinson. They had fun.
Yeah.
Every other character felt like they were sleeping through it.
Hmm.
Um,
Even John David Washington, because
yeah, man.
he's a pretty good little, not little, but like
He
he's
he
Denzel's
seemed
boy, so not a little Washington, but like
he seemed
he's
bored.
pretty
He
solid.
seemed And honestly, I fell asleep. I fell asleep during it. I haven't fallen asleep
Mhm.
during a movie in a very long time, and I fell asleep during this one.
It's kind of like.
And
Sorry, I don't. Sorry, I won't interrupt you. You keep going.
it didn't land where it should have. And like the third act was great. By the time we got to the third act, I was like, okay, cool, I'm in.
Yeah,
But it was like at least a half an hour to an hour too long.
yeah. The
And
journey
I
to
like
get there.
I like long movies. I don't need every movie to be an epic.
I feel that Christopher Nolan really, as his movies have progressed, especially after the Batman movies, but each one has become like more convoluted and more like twisted, and you got to follow all these different like interlooping things. Um,
He's trying to be complicated now.
he's trying to be complicated and smarter than maybe he is. Like, I'm not saying he's stupid, but sometimes like you think you're being so smart that you're just like, I'm making the most complicated, smartest thing ever, and it just doesn't work because sometimes it just goes too far. And if no one can follow it, what's the point? If no one can follow it, what's the point? I think there was even an interview with some of the actors, and they're like, yeah, most of the time we had no idea what was going on in the movie. Well, it's like, well, then how are they supposed to do a good job if they really don't know what they're doing, like what the movie's about or like what's going on? So,
And you can tell, like, there was just a lack of energy. There was a lack of excitement.
yeah.
So it was just,
yeah, interesting.
it was a hard watch. Two TV shows that I watched. Well, one I watched and finished, and the other one that I started to watch. DC's Legends of Tomorrow. It's a CW show.
Yeah, no, I know what it is. Yeah, no,
But
I was.
Have you watched it or?
I've watched it up to like I think season 3. Like I finished season 3. I haven't watched like the newer ones yet.
4 and 5 are so good. Like, honestly, it's probably my favorite DC show. It's a toss between that, Doom Patrol, like Stargirl.
1 and 2
But,
were
like,
questionable, but I
1
think
and
it started
2 were
getting
rough.
good around 3.
Dude, like, honestly, keep watching because season 4 is great and season 5 is great.
Good to know.
But honestly, because as soon as we hit season 3, we binged it. Like, we were like, okay, yeah, we stayed up late watching it. We'd be like, okay, one more episode, and then we would just watch
Just
5
get it
more
in, eh? Just
episodes,
get
and it's
her
like,
in.
no, I need to sleep. But like, no, like that one was like it was so good, and I'm caught up, and I'm ready for the next one. But like, dude, like it's honestly highly recommend, even if you're not a huge superhero fan.
Well, I like the show. I like the show. Like I didn't stop watching it
What's-
because I disliked it. I just stopped watching it because the
Got
app
sidetracked.
the app that I was watching it on wasn't completely kosher, I think. And then that app got shut down. Didn't have anywhere else to watch it.
That's a fair reason.
To be fair. But
I
yeah,
have
it's not like I
Crave, that's how I watch it.
disliked it at all.
Like, yeah, like if you were starting to really like it in season 3, you need to watch 4 and 5 because it just gets better, man.
Cool, man. Cool.
Um,
Glad they found
I
their
started-
stride.
Oh, they did, and they like by the time season 5 hit, they just completely embraced the weird.
Yeah.
Like and again, they shed that superhero skin. They shed that whole like we're trying to be like the other CW shows. The drama wasn't there anymore,
You just gotta do your own thing, yeah.
and it works, and it works really, really well. I started watching the new DuckTales.
Right. I forgot
Honestly?
they made new DuckTales. Where's that on?
Really Disney Plus.
Oh, okay.
It's really fun. It's actually really fun. The casting, it's kind of weird getting past their voices a bit,
Right.
but it's actually really well written and really funny. And then the other one that I started watching too, which I really enjoyed, we've been slowly watching just like an episode here or there, but Key and Peele. I've been meaning to watch that for a while, and we were 3 episodes in, but honestly, like their sketches are just hilarious.
Those guys are money. Those
They're
guys are
amazing.
money. And obviously, like Peele, like he's done like great work, obviously in the horror genre as well. Like he is actually quite a strong filmmaker.
But
On
their
top
chemistry,
of doing great skits. But yeah, their
chemistry is just
Yeah.
undeniable, man. Like it's hilarious, and like
I've been a fan of Keegan Michael Key for a long time, and I think I'm trying to remember which show they were on. I think it was Mad.
I think
that they
so.
were on together doing skits the first time I saw them, and I was like, I love these guys. So I've been a fan for quite a while.
honestly, they're like the first episode. Have you watched the show yourself or no?
I've watched it like I haven't watched it like like I haven't watched from like one end to the other, but
It's
like
like-
sporadic.
So the very first episode, they address the fact that they're mixed. They're half black, half white, and they're like, yeah, we get the best of both worlds.
Yeah,
And immediately, I just thought about you. I just thought, it's just like the jokes they told. I'm like, oh my gosh, this is Matt. This is Matt.
This
This
is
is
Matt.
amazing. And
it's
there's
true,
one
man.
sketch there's one sketch, maybe you've seen it, where like he's at like it's it's Keegan. He's on a date with a white girl, and she's like talking about how she kind of wants, like, you get the best of both worlds. You get, get the black guy at the right time and the white guy at the right time. So it's Keegan trying to like deal with a restaurant situation, switching between a black voice and a white
In a white
voice,
voice.
and he's to different people. There's like one guy he's being like intimidating to, another person he's being really polite to, and really like,
Yeah.
oh no, I don't want to. And it's amazing. It's hilarious.
I gotta look. I gotta watch the rest of those.
Man,
I gotta see if I can find
it's
them.
they're dude, like, it's, I mean, again, Crave, that's how I'm watching them.
Crave.
But like,
Okay.
it's they're so funny. They're so funny, and they deserve all the good things in the world because they're just two really funny, genuine dudes.
That's
Like, it's
they are. They're very good at what they do. They're very talented dudes. So
oh yeah.
no doubt there.
So that's my list, and before we get into the final thing that I watched, we should hear from you, Matt.
Oh
before I
yes,
start
before we
fight.
get into the final thing. Yeah, that's right. That's right. So for me, I decided to like go back and watch maybe some more like classic, like older movies that I never watched before. And again, it's kind of like, what were you doing with your life, bro? Why haven't you watched these things? And I just
Well, that's a lot of what I did too. We just watched
never
very
did.
different ones.
Yeah. So that
We
was kind
just
of like my goal, and just kind of watch maybe a couple things that I wanted to revisit that I hadn't watched for a while. So I started off watching The Godfather Part 1 and Part 2. I saw it was on Netflix, and I was like, I've been meaning to watch it for a while, but obviously I can't watch it with like my wife and kids around. Like, she don't care, and I'm not watching around my kids, obviously.
what did you think?
So I really, really liked them. They're as good as people say they are.
I love the first one. The first one is an undeniable classic. The
People say the
second one,
second one's better. I would agree with you on the first one though. Like, to me, the first
this
one was just more clear cut. Like, it was
the
just
second one
a
should be
better
two
narrative.
different movies.
Yeah, that's what it felt
Like
like. Yeah, for
like
sure.
they because they didn't even tie together. Like say like if the end of the second movie was something to do with like Michael had to like deal with the family who tried to kill his father.
Yeah,
Or something
exactly.
like that would make
Exactly.
sense.
Yeah, I agree.
But it didn't. And like we just recently actually watched we actually watched the second one and the third one.
See,
You
I
don't
didn't
need
watch
to
the third one because I heard the third one was trash, so I didn't watch
as
it.
someone who just rewatched it, don't. Do
Okay,
not.
good.
Like, it's
I
you're
only
good.
I only stopped at
Um
2. I was like, this is good. I'll move on.
so now I need to go back and show Prosser the first one because he saw it once a long time ago. But
Yeah.
I love
No,
the
I
first
mean,
one is
the first one's so good. So
and
good.
it's a tight story. It's a complete arc. You don't need anything past it.
Yeah, like there's no
Like
confusion. It's a very well put together story, but it's not trying to do complicated
it's
things.
a beautiful tragedy too. Like it's literally
Yeah,
watching this guy who's like, I want nothing to do with my family.
to have to get
Become
like the
he
Don.
becomes his
He
family, and like
becomes
I
the
love
Godfather.
that.
No, there's not too many movies that have like great negative character arcs, but that's one of them. Like, that's one of them. Like, going from just being like the sweet, like, I don't want anything to do with my family, like you said, like just a genuinely good, like trying to be a good guy, trying to be different from everyone else, to ultimately devolving and, throughout the story and throughout his experiences, becoming what he always hated, right? And
Yep.
like, and just really powerful moments and scenes. Obviously, like the baptism scene where he's like taking out all the other
Yep.
guys are getting like wiped out. I'm like, oh shit, this is sick. It was awesome. um like the stuff even like in Italy too was like really good and like sad.
Oh yeah.
Like, you feel sad for Mike, right? Like, because it's like, man, this guy's been through the shit,
What
and just to protect his dad. And then when his
entire
brother gets
time-
gunned down, there's some really
Oh, that was-
visceral violence in there too. That almost made me feel like sick. Like,
Dude.
not like sick from like, ooh, blood, but like you put yourself in those experiences, right? Like, and he just got effed. Like, he was so screwed. Like, it just
Have you seen the behind the
sucked.
scenes of that?
No, I didn't.
So they basically literally had, because this is like way before a lot of
Like,
modern
special
effects.
effects and stuff, yeah.
There's like scenes, there's like pictures of James Caan standing with like a bunch of like strings attached to like wax on his face and his body that they pulled out to simulate the gunshots.
Oh,
Like
okay.
it's so cool.
That is pretty
And
cool.
like man, like
That's
it's
sick.
just so well executed. Like it's in the story, again, the story is tight. Everything that happens in that story happens for a reason.
Yeah. And
Like
perfectly
it's just
flows into like the next thing to continue driving everything
and
together.
the entire time you're rooting for Mike. You're
Yeah.
rooting that Michael is gonna get out. Even okay, this next thing. Okay, he'll get out. Okay, he went to Italy. Oh, maybe he'll get out after this. Oh, maybe he'll. And he never
It just
does.
gets
He
deeper and
never.
deeper and deeper.
And just that door closing at the end.
Yeah.
It's perfect. Like that's again. You don't need anything else.
No.
Like
You know. You know. No, it
like
was it is fantastic. And I see a lot of where like all the like a lot of the mob like kind of um man, I'm having a hard time remembering words today. Um stereotypes and stuff come from like that you see in like other mob movies or TV shows and stuff like that.
well,
A lot of that
they actually
you see a lot
heavily
of that
consulted. They definitely heavily they it became a bit of a problem, but they heavily consulted
with the
the
actual
mob
like
and the
mob.
mafia. Yeah, yeah, man. Like, and it's based off a book too.
It is. Yeah.
this is a book. Like,
Yeah.
but no, man, it's so good. I'm happy you watched it. I'm
Yeah,
happy you
me
liked it
too.
because like
Me
it's
too. And like the second one I thought was still good, but it wasn't anywhere near as good as the first one. And I
no,
was like reading the description, they're like, it's the rise and fall of the Corleone family. And I'm like, actually, this one's more the fall of the family. Like, it's not the rise. Like, the first book, kind of, even though it's like a negative character arc for Mike, it really is the rise of the family, right? As they rise to a more prominent position within like that mafia world,
yeah.
as he takes out all the competition and stuff. And like his dad Vito was just so like wonderfully played too. Like it was just great that first one. Um, but like I liked parts of the second one, but again, it didn't come together
Well,
as like a
that's
cohesive whole for the narrative.
it.
And
Should
like
have.
and freaking uh
De Niro.
De Niro, man. God, it doesn't even look like De Niro, man. It doesn't even look
He's
like
so
De Niro.
young.
He's
He's
so
so.
young. I love it. I loved it.
But that's where I would have loved to have just seen his own movie as Vito.
Yeah,
Just tell that story and then
I could see
have
that.
us like it just would have been better if they were two separate movies and not cut together.
Yeah. And
Like
like yeah, and I found honestly like I found like Vito stuff more interesting anyway. Like it was more interesting
100%.
like him coming to America and like,
Well, because
building up
Michael's was
everything.
just
Well, Michael's was just his
more of
whole
the
life
same.
falling apart around him.
It
Again,
was the exact same thing as the first movie. Like
well,
it was
yeah,
just like
except like
okay,
the
like
business was falling and the family was falling apart, right? Like it was not about the rise and like to grandeur. Like every grand plan he had kind of fell around him. And
I
in
knew
the
it
end,
was you, Fredo.
and in the end, instead of killing, like they kind of had a very similar scene than than as the first film, right, where he's taking out all their opposition and their enemies, and really like rising the family up. But in this one, he's just killing. It was like his family members and his friends and his allies getting killed and taken out. But it was a similar type of scene, right? But
Yeah.
it kind of showed you like where his targets began. Like he got too big and it all kind of fell apart in the end for him. And I don't know how the third one even goes. I don't know. Does it carry on that same story or is it something
It's
totally different and weird?
they're a legitimate business by the time because it's like 30 years or not, 20 years after the fact. They're a
Right.
legitimate business. And then he gets sucked right back in and has to deal with being the mob and it's a very confusing convoluted story
Yeah.
that didn't need to be told.
So part one, clearly the like to me, part one was
Part
the
1 is
better
the
film.
best.
Yeah, I thought part two was also good, but part one was definitely
Part 1
the
is
clearer
prime.
and better film. Like yes,
Yes.
there's so many times of part two. I was like, I'm not even sure what's happening honestly at this moment. Like it was one of those ones where it's like, we're trying to be too smart again. I think.
One and part
Or
part
maybe I'm
one
just too
doesn't
dumb.
part 1 doesn't feel nearly as long as
Part two,
yeah.
yeah,
Like it's 3 hours, but it's a tight 3 hours.
yeah,
Like,
it really, really is. Okay, so I watched that one. Let's see here. It's next on my list. Silence of the Lambs. I'd only
you've never
ever,
seen
I've
Silence of the
only ever
Lambs?
seen like bits and pieces of it. I never
Dude, it's
watched it
so
from beginning
good.
to end. So that was the next one on my list. I was like, okay, let's
It's
go
amazing.
Silence of the Lambs. Clarice.
And how'd you like it?
Clarice. I loved it, man. It was so
It's so
man.
good.
I love how the movies are just like it's so good. But it is, right? Especially if you care about these things. Like
Dude, last time we watched, I might have mentioned this actually, but last time me and Prosper watched it,
Anthony
he pointed out
Hopkins.
to me
Just,
that
oh my god.
if you look at the characters, if it's like a character connecting,
Yeah.
the actors are actually looking into the lens and actually looking at you as they're like, it's
Yeah.
so
Just
dude,
like how like the
it's
cinematography behind it was really well done. And it put you into like those moments of tension, right? Like when she's in the
in the
house in
dark.
the dark with like Buffalo Bill, and you're from
Yeah.
his viewpoint, right? You're just like, she is so effed right now. How he didn't kill her was ridiculous. That was the only thing that was kind of like, well, you're just a big dumb idiot, aren't you? Like, like to
Well,
be honest, you had the total advantage. You could have just, you know what I mean? Like, but nah, he's like, I'm gonna click this really loud gun. Like, oh yeah, now you're gonna get shot, you dumbass. Like, great plan. Anyway,
how'd
it
you feel
will
about
put
Goodbye
its
Horses?
lotion on its skin. Like, it's so
Would you do
weird.
me?
Like,
Do me
I
so
do
hard.
me. Like, it was so like, yeah, no, it was a really great movie and psychologically just wonderful. And Anthony Hopkins was just a pro
Dude,
as
like
per
it's so
usual.
good. It's such a good film, beginning to end.
Very
Like it is one of my top films.
It
Like
is.
it's
It was
so good.
yeah. It was pretty fantastic. I had a really good time with it, like seeing as it is like a pretty messed up film, but like like the characters
one
are
of the
a
most
mess, but it's so good and it's so smart. Like because I
it's
knew he put someone's face on at some point, but I was like, how exactly is this working again? And then it's like, oh, that sneaky son of a bitch! Like it was.
so do you consider it a horror film or a thriller?
I would say a thriller. It's like it's a mystery thriller, right? Like
It's one of the most that is one of the most divisive arguments in film.
yeah, like it's not a
What
horror.
genre does it fall under?
I wouldn't call it a horror because it's not really like it'd be a horror if like Hannibal Lecter got out and started murdering everybody and it became a slasher type thing. You know what I mean? Like I think it would become
I'd
more of a
consider it
horror in that kind of aspect. I think it maybe had horror elements, but it definitely didn't
yeah,
come across.
it's
It's more crime thriller.
it's a psychological thriller with horror elements
Yeah,
to it.
for sure. Yeah, I think we'd wrap that up as a good definition, but. No, I
So good.
really, really enjoyed it. It was just really
I'm
smart,
so
really
happy
smart
that you're
writing, really smart cinematography. Like again, like you mentioned, just where they put the camera, like you felt the characters. You had those moments where the characters were talking to you, and you were just like in the shoes of these
Oh,
characters.
Jodie Foster's amazing in it, isn't she?
She's so good at that one.
So good.
Like, yeah, everything about that movie was just. It was money.
It puts the lotion in the
Yeah,
basket.
like yeah, and of course, like you got like the time that the time that it's like race against time. Like there's just so many elements they
Yeah.
brought in and the tension. Ah, just a great job. I'm a big fan of tension. Like I like when movies do tension right.
Oh,
Because
100%.
it's so powerful, right? It is such a powerful emotion. Even in when it's not a thriller or a horror movie, like there's opportunities for tension that just make those moments so powerful. Again, we talked about Mandalorian sitting at the table, right? Like that moment of tension was so powerful. Or when the droids are punching the door, that's so powerful. Um,
Like man, when they were cutting
oh,
together her showing up at Buffalo Bill's house and then the FBI going to the wrong
yes,
house.
yes,
Like, oh
yes.
man.
And you're just like, oh,
Oh
fuck. Oh
no.
no, she's in there and she has like no backup.
And the
Oh,
phone
and then
scene, like
and
it's
they're just like he's like, oh, let me find the card there for you. And it's like, is she gonna figure this out? Like she's going in the house. Oh my god, is he just gonna like take her out?
so good. It's so good.
I just remembered another movie I watched. Anyway, no, I was really happy I watched that one. Next on my list of like psychological movies, American Psycho with Christian Bale.
You've never seen American
I have
Psycho?
not.
Oh man, it's so good.
Like I watch like certain, I always like it's funny like because like and that's why I made this list of these movies because it's like there's some I just haven't seen. Like there's like and there's ones that you should see like as like movie fans and fans of storytelling, and I just never saw it. But yeah, no, I watched American Psycho. That was a really fun one. Just a total whack trip, man. Like that was
That
such a
dude,
trip. Like
the scene with him and Jared Leto do you like Huey Lewis in the news? Like,
Like
so
talking
good.
about music all the time, right? Like it was like some really effed up shit. And then at the end, it's like you don't like it kind of leaves it open. It's like, did things happen? Did things didn't happen? Like, what's real? What
Like,
was
it's
false?
like,
What's part of
did
his
he
own
commit these
psychosis?
murders,
Exactly. Or what
or is he
was
just
imagining it?
rich enough that they like? Is he rich enough that like they just covered for him?
But he didn't even make it go away. Like, that's the thing. Like, and there's
But
just like
that's the thing.
weird
Like,
things
did
where he's
someone make
like,
it go away for him?
at the end, he's like, "You're my lawyer" or whatever. Like, and he didn't even like the lawyer didn't even know who he was. Like, it was just a weird situation. Like, there was
That's
definitely
so
there was
good.
definitely like a lot of messed up stuff, and it's a trip, but it's a fun trip. It was
Willem
a
Dafoe
fun
in it.
trip. Yeah, William Defoe, right? And like, yeah, there was just blood everywhere, and he goes into that house, and like the real estate agent, you're just like, "Okay, did she just like clean up all that shit? Like, what the f is going on?" And
The end
obviously the
scene
end
where he just goes on
sequence,
that
the end
rampage.
sequence, like, if anything,
Feed
like
me,
maybe some of that
feed me a
shit was
cat.
real, like, you know what I mean? But like, for sure that end sequence was like he was losing it at that point, for sure, right? Like, feed me a cat, straight up put it into the machine, just kills an old lady, and then he blows up cop cars with like a handgun. He's like, what the fuck?
Like,
It was ridiculous. Oh
it's so
man.
good. I have to go return some videotapes.
So good. Anyway, that was another one I watched.
Is this
Um,
gonna be this entire list? Is just you being like, this one? It's so
you
good.
know, like, they're so good. Like, and some of these I have watched and repeat, but another one I want to watch. It's not old. It's new. Uncut Gems with Adam Sandler. Have you
Haven't seen
watched
that
that
one yet.
yet? Oh my
No, I
god,
haven't.
dude, watch that. Like, talk about tension. Talk about tension. And I don't want to, like, I'm not gonna spoil anything, but I'm just saying the tension of this movie is off the chart. You're gonna be like, oh my god, oh my god, and they play you like a freaking fiddle. And every time this character is about to get out, he does something always that's really freaking stupid and f's himself over. Like, and when you get to the ending, it's very it's shocking. But when you think about it, you're like, there clearly was no other way this movie could have ended. Like, this is the only one. It's on Netflix. Adam Sandler does an amazing freaking job. Uncut Gems. Check it out.
If I have to.
Okay. Another one I watched was, here's an interesting topic. I watched Rise of Skywalker again because I saw the thumbnail and it didn't make me want to throw up. So I decided, well, I'll try watching it again. Because clearly
Did you throw up?
I'm not having a violent emotional reaction to the thumbnail. Maybe I feel differently. I didn't throw up, and most of my anger about it, like, and frustration is gone. But like, in general, it's just not a very good movie. Like, in general, like, put together, it's just not a very good
Yeah.
movie.
It's
Like,
a very flawed
again,
movie.
there is, again, all the flaws were still there. I just didn't feel like as emotional about, because I think I'm just like, I'm over it, man. Like, it is what it is. It's here. It sucks that it's here. And again, as an individual movie, it works better by itself. Um, Not great, but it works better if you just think of it as an individual film. But as soon as you again put it into the trilogy, it's gone, man. It's a mess. It's a mess. Um, so Rise of Skywalker, and that's another movie too, where we're talking about like tension. That movie has no tension at all. They don't use tension at all. They immediately put you on the hook for tension, and then immediately take you off. Like, they're like, "Oh my god, you killed Chewbacca." The very next scene, Chewbacca's alive. You're just like, "What the
Oh my gosh, you
fuck?
killed Kenny.
You bastards!" Like,
You
and
killed
then,
Chewie.
never mind, he's immediately alive. Or the part where they're just like, "Oh my god, uh, freaking what's his name is the traitor, um, General Hux or whatever, right?" They're like,
I
he's the
I loved Hux's demise though.
no,
Like, I just
but here's the thing, because it pissed me off. Because they're like, he's like, "I'll stay behind and I'll fake it," and they're like, "Okay, cool." And I was like, "Okay, this could be interesting." Because now we have a character who's actually on the rebellion side,
like, you
and
feel like that could have gone on longer,
oh,
right?
way longer, right? Like, and this is what I'm talking about, tension, because that would have created tension, because we know he's putting on a show, right? Like, and he has to keep it all undercover. I thought that would have been a cool element to bring in, but they're like, "Nope." Next scene, instantly shot. Like, it was just, I was like, "Why are you doing this to me?" And there was a couple other things.
Because
There was a couple
it's
other things
literally
too.
it's literally because, man, they they took 2 movies that they wanted to make
Probably
and condensed
3,
it
man.
into
Honestly, that's a whole trilogy right there. That's potentially a whole trilogy right there. That was just one of them, but there
That's
was like a couple different. There was so many parts where it was like, here's an opportunity for tension. Then like, no, like immediately they just cut the tension. It pissed me off. So, but no,
where I stand.
there's a yeah. It's still not a very good movie, but
I
I
stand
don't like
by.
emotionally hate it anymore. I just
If
hate it from a technical standpoint, which I don't know which is better or worse.
it's so dumb because if Last Jedi was different or Rise of Skywalker was different, that trilogy would have been amazing. But because Last Jedi was what it was, which again, as on its own, is great. And because Rise of Skywalker is what it was, and on its own, it's not that great because again, they were trying to resolve a trilogy that didn't exist. That's the problem.
Yeah, I don't even know. I wouldn't even say that's the problem, man. I think Last Jedi, I think Last Jedi at least continue is a continuation of
Oh
the
yeah,
Force Awakens, where like Rise of Skywalker is a continuation of freaking nothing. Like it's like in like improv class, right? It's like if I'm doing something and like we like, oh, scene switch or whatever, and you jump in like change the scene, and then it's like, oh, but I gotta like play off you, right? Like it would be different. It
yeah.
would be like if we were like, I don't know, if it was like a Batman thing, and then you're like, pause, change scene, and you jump in, and you're like, now we're doing Star Wars, but I'm like, F you, I'm still the freaking Joker. I'm still gonna just do what the fuck I want. Like, that's what this was. It wasn't a continuation and a playing off of what story was laid out. It was like, no, let's just go back and redo all these scenes we did in Last Jedi, but now change them to the way I want them. So, that was.
Second verse, same as the first.
Yeah, exactly. Like, it was just like, what are we doing? What are we doing? Okay, anyway, Rise of Skywalker. I'll go through some of these other ones quickly. Gangs in New York, great movie. Really, really love that one.
Really
Leonardo
good, yeah.
DiCaprio and oh
Daniel
my
Day-Lewis.
God, Daniel Day-Lewis. He's amazing in that film.
I haven't seen
He's
it
like
in so
amazing
long.
in Moses film. Like he's top notch. Gladiator. Watch that again. Love it as
Gladiator's
always.
one I've had trouble getting into it.
Really?
I don't know. Yeah.
Oh man, I love Gladiator.
I need to sit down and make a concerted effort. I just haven't for some reason.
Yeah, it's good. Braveheart I watched again. I haven't watched that one for many, many years.
Classic.
Fucking love Braveheart, man. William Wallace. Fucking great movie. Freedom. I might make a video on that. I feel like I should because it was so good. I watched Contagion, which was like a new one that came out like kind of around the pandemic, which I thought was like really stupid because clearly it was made.
Contagion?
Yeah.
No, Contagion came out in like 2009, dude.
Oh really?
Or no, 2012. Yeah, it's 2011. Yeah, it's like the one with is Matt Damon in it?
Yeah, and like a bunch of other
Yeah.
people.
Yeah, dude. No, that came out in
Oh, I thought it just came out recently.
2011. No, it gained more traction because it came out.
Oh, maybe that's
because
what
of
it was.
It's about.
Maybe that's what it was. I thought it just came out like just before the pandemic. That's probably why I only heard about it after that. So watch that. It was interesting, average at best.
It was a movie.
Yeah, like I don't think it. Again, there's a reason no one talked about it. Like it was made more interesting because of like the pandemic we're in, and you're like, oh shit, this could be like way worse, but it's not. But just on its own, it was kind of like meh. No Country for Old Men. Watch that one. Again, only seen bits and pieces. Ethan
That's the-
Hawke, Javier
No Country for
Bardem,
Old-
and
Wait,
Tommy Lee
Ethan
Jones.
Hawke's in it? You mean Josh Brolin?
No, I'm pretty sure it was Ethan Hawke.
I'm pretty sure it's Josh Brolin. I don't think Ethan Hawke's in that one.
Oh, maybe it
Yeah,
was.
it's Josh Brolin.
Oh, never mind. I thought it was Ethan Hawke.
Apparently, I'm an Ethan Hawke fanboy. I mean, I've known that for years, but yeah, no, it's Josh Brolin
Oh, he really
and
skinned.
Woody Harrelson.
Yeah, he was in there for like a couple seconds, then he got shot. Whatever.
It's the mustache. It's the
He really slimmed
But no,
down
like-
for that then, though, because
Oh, yeah.
he was pretty thin. I was like, I'm pretty sure that's Ethan Hawke.
I remember.
I think
I remember
maybe
that
it's his
movie.
hair too. He had longer hair in that one.
It's a good movie, and I think that's one that doesn't have any music in it, but you don't notice.
Yeah. Also, it's confusing as hell half the time.
But like,
Or like,
look at- so,
oh
like,
no,
here's-
it's by the time it gets to the end, it like does this like weird twist. It's like the character you're following the whole time gets killed off screen. You're like, okay.
And like the
There are
weird
some
thing
things that
for
kind of annoyed me in that movie.
the weird thing we had to keep reminding ourselves is that Tommy Lee Jones wasn't playing Josh Brolin's father. They were two unrelated characters,
Yeah.
but it really helped solidify Men in Black 3 when Josh Brolin played young Tommy Lee Jones. We're like, yeah, this makes sense. He was in No Country for Old Men, even though they weren't
It
related.
makes sense. What else did I watch? The Sister Brothers. Just watched that one just a couple days ago.
I haven't seen that, but I've seen it around. Any good?
It was pretty good. It's a pretty enjoyable western. Like, I don't want to say it's like it's not
Is it a comedy
it's not
or
the
is it?
best movie I've seen. It has comedic elements. It's kind of a weird.
Is that Joaquin Phoenix and John C. Riley?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. No,
I see it at work all the time. And
it
I
has
just
like
I've never watched
it has comedic elements in it. I wouldn't say it's a comedy per se, but Jake Gyllenhaal's in it. Riz Ahmed. I'm pretty sure that was the other dude, cat in there.
There's a cat.
Here's your cat. Here's your cat. But it was pretty good. It was enjoyable time anyway. Yeah, no, I think that's it. I think that's my list. Rise Skywalker, Wonder Woman 84. Gonna watch WandaVision. Oh no, one more. And this was I purposely saved this one for last. Oh wait, no, I watched some TV too. Quick. I watched the last current season of Netflix of The Last Kingdom. Really, really fun season, and by fun I mean not fun at all for the characters, but fun for me, because the
And that's
characters
what
went
matters.
through total hell again, as per usual, in most shows. But Last Kingdom, and I started listening to the Last Kingdom audiobooks, so that was actually one of my highlights too. It's a good audiobook.
Good.
Actually, fairly good. But yeah, Last Kingdom, and then started watching the final seasons of Vikings just the other day before we jumped on in here. That just started. They just started playing it on History Channel like a couple weeks back now. So there's only 3
Okay.
episodes out, but so far so good. No, it's pretty good. The newer seasons aren't as good as like the older ones, I think, but it is what it is. Now this is the best one. Hands down the best one. Saved it for last. This was my favorite movie of the holidays, Hunt for the Wilder People.
Oh, you finally saw that one?
Oh my god, I loved that movie. Yeah. Taika Waititi. And it was again on the list of like ones I wanted to watch. I just never got the chance to. And fuck man, that was like I don't know. I guess like you're not comparing it. I'm not comparing it to The Godfather, but it definitely was my most enjoyable film for sure
Oh,
that
yeah.
I watched
It's-
over the holidays, man. And
It's
and
super different. But
yeah, and we've talked about this before. Just the mix of heart and comedy and seriousness, like real like there was real
again-
human emotion and elements and topics that these characters had to deal with, but also heartfelt, also funny, just so Taika Waititi. And I was just,
when you watch that one and you watch Jojo Rabbit, you're like, this is the same director.
yeah, exactly.
But then
you can
watch
tell.
something like Thor Ragnarok or What We Do in the Shadows, and you're like, okay, this is the same director. What's going on? How can this director also feel so much?
What's going on here? Yeah, no, he's just such a talent, and I don't know, like, and I'm myself personally like a big fan of Sam Neill, like because I
Oh, yeah.
love Sam Neill just from Jurassic Park. Like that's it. I don't even see.
Dude, anything
like,
he's in, he is
He's
phenomenal.
just so good, right? Like he's such a talented performer. And like, listen, I even follow him on Twitter, and I don't follow no one on Twitter. Like, I follow people, but like no one famous, you know. But I'm like, I'm gonna follow Sam Neill because hell yeah, I fucking love this guy. But yeah, no, he did. He was great, and the kid from I don't remember his name, but the kid from Deadpool 2 was the kid. And yeah, no, it was just it was really
He's
good.
a really good actor, and I'm really excited to see where.
And I liked how
goes.
like the security guard from like Thor Ragnarok was like the social service like lady.
she's like in
hunting him
all of his
down.
films, I guess. I'm pretty
Oh,
sure.
is she? Oh,
Yeah,
Was she in Jojo Rabbit?
maybe.
I don't remember her in Jojo Rabbit. Maybe she was. I can't. I don't.
I mean,
remember.
I'll be honest. World War II movie, it's kind of hard to fit in New Zealanders
To be fair, yeah,
unless one of them is gonna play Hitler.
yeah.
But
Then it works,
still-
but it's an imaginary Hitler.
I need to rewatch Jojo Rabbit.
Me
'cause
too.
That movie just
Me
makes
too.
Me happy.
He said, like, yeah. So, Hunt for the Wilder People was fantastic. If you're just looking for a movie that's got heart and it's about love and acceptance and the resiliency of the human spirit, connection, man. I 100% recommend it. And it's on Netflix too. So if you have Netflix, just pop it in. Pop it
No,
in.
it's
And
really
I
good. It's
totally
worth
didn't
a watch.
understand, like, just watching the title. I'm like, I don't understand what this movie is. Just looking at the title. But then as you
But
go
when you
through it,
watch a
you're just
movie, it
like,
makes sense.
oh, this makes total sense. Yeah. Total sense. Call me a perv one more time. It's like, you perv. Just gets his ass beat. Shit, man. It was so funny. Anyway, those are the movies I've watched. And TV shows that I watched this holiday season. All great for the most part. Minus Rise of Skywalker and Contagion. But, I think everything else that I talked about there was really, really good. And the other day I just watched Surviving Death on Netflix. It's a new series.
Okay.
Kind of interesting if you're like, it kind of asks the question, like follows some of these like people as they're studying and doing research and looking into like, is there life after death? So it kind of talks about like near death experiences in one episode. It goes through some mediums, go through like signs from lost loved ones, and what was the last episode? Oh, like reincarnation, and like has all these crazy examples. And you're like, oh man, this is whack, man. This is crazy.
It's
But
wiggity 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 whack.
lots of fun. Yep. Okay. That's what I watched. Should we get into the final movie here? The final
Should I
part
make you
of our
cry? Should I
discussion.
make you cry?
Ethan, good lord, man.
Well, for all I know, it's going to be a short discussion.
Well, it could be. It doesn't need to be long. We're getting old.
So I will say, I understand why you like it. I understand that you like it, and I appreciate that you like it. And I don't want to take.
I
that
understand
away from
that you like it.
that. I don't want to take away.
Could it possibly be all the times I've talked about it?
Well, and that's the thing. I don't want to take away anything from how passionate you are about this movie or how
Oh,
it makes
don't
you
worry,
feel.
you won't.
Honestly, I found it kind of underwhelming.
Did I hype it
And
up too much? That might have been my
no,
bad.
I like maybe, but like no, but like it was also it was there were some really great scenes,
Mm-hmm.
and there was a lot of really boring scenes that could have been cut. And I think they ended the movie way too early because they ended the movie before the darkest hour. Because the darkest hour was not Dunkirk for Britain. That was not the darkest hour. The darkest hour was probably the Blitz. It was probably the entirety of being in World War II, and it was really weird that they called this movie The Darkest Hour, and it was really weird that they made this movie about like Churchill, like where the movie ended should have been the end of the second act.
Mm,
The third
I would
act,
disagree with it, but yeah, keep going.
the third act to me should have been him dealing with the war, and the end of the movie should have been him getting removed from office. Especially like seeing like the best part of that movie, the highlight of that movie, the greatest scene in that movie was him on the subway.
Yo, hands
was-
down, hands down. Yeah.
And I wanted more of that. I wanted more of that in the movie. Because a lot of the other stuff was just kind of like I didn't need to, like they didn't need all the scenes reminding me that Winston Churchill drank a lot. I didn't need that because it's like we know that. And you can show that. You can just have that like every single shot he's in, he has a glass of whiskey or something. Cool. Like that's easy, and you could have fit in more character stuff, more moments of him like again that scene with him and the people was just so good. It was so good, and I wanted more of that in the movie. Gary Oldman sometimes acted really well, and other times was acting, and that's the problem.
What's acting?
So there are moments where he's playing Winston Churchill, and those were good moments. But then there were moments where he was being Gary Oldman reciting Churchill's speeches, and it didn't have the same gravitas as what Churchill has had. I've heard those speeches, I've listened to them, and it didn't have the same impact, you know? Lily James was way underutilized. She disappeared for like a third of the movie, and that was weird, especially with how much they build up that she was kind of going to be the audience's eyes for this movie. Ben Mendelsohn was great,
He was.
but they should have spent more time building up his relationship with Churchill rather than just having him also disappear and then show up and be like, "Hey, I'm sorry. I was wrong. I like you now." They could have spent more time on that relationship. I think they really, really, really dwelt a lot on the Dunkirk situation, which I think is fine. But again, like, it was so much like, yes, this is the thing that's going to drive him mad. But then again, they just cut, like, I feel like they really stopped it. They stopped at 2 speeches. They should have had a third speech. That should have been the middle, like that. The we'll fight them on the land should have been the middle act. That should have been the end of the second act, and we could have got more. And I'm trying to think of what else there was. There was a lot, and I'm not alone in this. Prosser agrees with me, right, Prosser? He's nodding. They can't hear it, but overall, it felt like there was a lot of flashy cinematography and flashy editing in order to distract from an incomplete story. And that's kind of how I felt. I felt like there wasn't a good resolution to it. And I mean, it's World War II. There's not really much resolution you can have. Also, great scene. Him on the phone with Roosevelt. Phenomenal scene. Like that. There were like those are the moments I wanted more of. But there was so much that I could just have lived without.
Yeah,
In the movie, that it's like the up your bum scene was also, that was a fun moment.
that was pretty funny. Yeah.
Like, that was a good moment. There was the humanizing moments, but then there was just so much. Well, his family was like also kind of underutilized too. Like, his wife is in a few scenes, and then like when he's doing that final speech, she's at a photo shoot, and I was very confused by that.
I don't remember.
And like that's thing. There were weird moments in it, and like, again, I can see why you liked it, and I can understand why you like it. I'm happy that there's a film out there that makes you feel as pumped up as that film does. It did not hit me the same way, and it left me kind of wanting more.
Fair enough.
But I don't want a Darkest Hour 2. I do not want a sequel.
Like, yeah, for me, and again, we talked about this earlier in the podcast too, right? Like, again, the objectivity of art and like what points we're looking, what perspectives we're looking on. No, like, I would disagree with you saying, like, I think the film need to keep going into like the vast majority of the Battle of Britain. I think for me, and the story was what it was trying to tell, it wasn't necessarily trying to talk about the darkest hours like the whole war, but this moment where this one man who is obviously very flawed, as a person and as a leader, but this one man had to come in and unify his country to stand against the Nazis. And kind of at the end of the film, that's where you get that final unification. And they very clearly set that up at the beginning, right? Where they got the speeches and they're waiting for the leader of the opposition party to give the signal whether their opposition supports or denies the other side. And that was the whole point of the film, right? The uniting of Britain under Winston Churchill to stand against the Nazis. Like, the actual war itself and the endurance that they had to do to stand against the Nazis was kind of like the epilogue. It's kind of like what happened afterwards, right? But the main narrative and the main story is about the unification. And that's kind of why you get so many different scenes of his flaws, because they kind of show you, like, this isn't like a perfect man. It's not like everyone's just up and hyped to like just jump behind him and go. This is a man who doesn't have the trust of royalty out of the beginning. This is a man who doesn't want to play politics, and yet he still has the job to bring these parties together. So not only was he facing and having to deal with the problems that were coming from World War II, from Hitler, from the situation at Dunkirk and all their men being stranded, he also, which it showed also in the film, he had opposition that was trying to get rid of him before he had even begun. So he was already fighting with enemies completely surrounded. And it was through his words, through his speeches, through the messages that he shared, and through ultimately, again, like we said, connecting with the people, that brought unity. Not only unity of the parties, but unity of all of England. And that was kind of like that dark hour, because it was kind of like the hour. If this works, they can do it. If it doesn't, they can't. And it would be a totally different outcome to World War II. It'd be a totally different outcome to history. Like that was kind of like the linchpin moment of where things worked or they didn't. So that's kind of like for me, and obviously, like I'm obviously huge. I definitely have a bias towards Winston Churchill because I just love the idea and what he did. Again, recognizing he's not a perfect man, but you know what he did for the world and that kind of leadership. I appreciate that, respect that. Um, I'm also biased because I'm a really big fan of speech, like
That's
like
fair.
presentations and talking and the art, and because they do go into that a bit too that I like. Not a ton, but like they did have quite a few things where he's working with his assistants to find the right words, to find how to affect people and connect with them, and to communicate his message, but also to tell those stories to get them to envision what he's trying to accomplish, what he's trying to do, to give them hope, to give them courage. And that was another aspect of the film which I just thought was spot on because that's what he needed to do. So that was another element that I'm familiar with like in my life. So it's like I have like maybe a more deeper appreciation for that than most people would. Like, oh, he's writing a speech, big whoop. And I'm like, no, he's not just writing a speech. Like he's forming and creating this story and this narrative and visualizing for people. Oh, he chose this word here because it's a simpler word. It's about, simplifying so more people can understand yada 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 yada.
Well, that's where I think
Um
they could have leaned into that stuff more. They could have also spent more time showing him being flawed rather than telling us that he was flawed. Right? They could have.
Well, I
That's what
think
I'm
they
saying.
showed us he was being flawed. Again, I haven't watched it again for a couple months here now. Probably
I
since the
feel like
last time I told you to watch, so.
I feel like they could have. It's one or the other. They got either they should have started it earlier, and also it didn't help that they made his. It didn't help that they made the guys who were trying to encourage him to do peace talks rather than just sticking with war, made them a clear villain for him. Because again, you're taking this flawed individual that you're supposed to kind of be uncertain about, and he's supposed to win you over by this film, and you've already made him a hero in your eyes because you made those two guys who are trying to get him out villains.
Well, I don't think it's necessarily the flawed. I don't think his flawedness is necessarily for us, but I think it communicates why the Allies wouldn't necessarily join with him. It creates a
But
very real reason why, like, to us, like, yes, they become villains because they're not just trying to not cooperate with him, but they're trying to, like, backdoor him and get him kicked out before he even has a chance to do anything. But I think, like, and this is just my opinion, I don't know, but I don't think the flawed element is for us to be like, oh, wow, this is such a flawed human. Like, should I see him as a hero or should I see him as flawed? I think it was the fact that we'd ask the question, why wouldn't the opposition just jump in line? Like, you literally have Nazis at the front door. Why aren't we just jumping together to unify here? And I think they gave us a strong enough reason, just through his characteristics, his personality, and his even his flaws, why they weren't ready to jump on. But even the king did eventually, right? Once you realize the threat that's at hand. But
well, that's why for me, just like it. I don't know. I feel like it could have focused on some stuff more. I agree. Like I can understand where you're coming from with the speech writing, but I think they also could have focused on the speech writing a lot more. And then the reason why I say it should have gone past World War II, or even if they just skipped over it, having that like where he's like, I've won the people over, yes, and then 5 months after the war they vote him out. He's basically like, oh well, we're done with you now. You did what you needed to do.
Wartime's over.
Like,
It's politics.
and like I think that would have been such a bittersweet ending of just like, yeah, I succeeded, but not really because the people are done with me.
I think it
And
would have
like
been an unsatisfying ending.
it depends on how you handle it.
Yeah,
Any
it isn't all
like right,
execution, right? I just think it would have been
and that's
unsat. Like like he already didn't have the people with him when he started the film, so the natural ending of that film would to be to
like
have a unified England.
I think this is also the trick of doing a biopic though, is like
Well, what are you gonna
telling the
show?
full
What are you gonna
telling the
focus
full
on? Like
telling the
whole
telling the full
story.
story without having an unsatisfying ending, because a lot of times with biopics, like, the unsatisfying ending is the sad, it's the end, it's the sad
Yeah.
moment for the person, right? Like, their story's over.
And it depends what and exactly like when it comes down to it, depends what you want your narrative to focus on.
Well, it's like a good example. Have you seen Milk ever, or no?
No, I haven't.
Milk is phenomenal. It's a really, really good movie. Like, it's just it's bizarre, and I didn't think I was gonna like it, and I did. But it's just, you know what it's about, or no?
No, I have no idea.
It's about I'm trying to remember. He's a politician. I think he's a senator, but he's a politician. He's the first openly gay politician who starts fighting for gay rights.
Right. Okay.
And, like, I don't want to give away anything with it, but it's not a happy ending at all.
Well,
It's not a
most
happy ending,
most biopics are.
but
Well,
it is a
I
very
think that,
satisfying ending.
Yeah, and I think there's a difference between happy, sad, and satisfying, right?
And that's what I'm saying. Like, I think you could have had a satisfying ending if you especially would have, like, especially Prosser actually suggested this during that speech, during that the final speech in the movie, which would have been a good middle point in my opinion. If you would have cut back to see the people that he talked, cut to the people listening to his speech that he talked to on the subway, and hearing, like, seeing them react to that speech, that would have been empowering too, rather than seeing a bunch of old stuffy white guys being like, "Oh yes, I agree with you." Oh.
Old stuffy white guys.
Show the people that you talked and connected to, because, like, dude, again, like, regardless of my opinions on everything else in the film, that scene on the subway was so freaking good. It was amazing.
It really was.
And, like, the only problem was I watched that scene and I'm like, why isn't the rest of the movie this? Ah!
Yeah. Well, that wasn't, I guess, yeah. And that's the other problem with biopics too, right? Like at the end of the day, you're kind of stuck within a certain structure of their life. And you're trying to like it's hard, right? Like it's a difficult task to embody someone's complete life within even a month worth of time, right? And to like show everything within a couple hours. So it's a challenging task. And I would honestly, like, I'm not saying like The Darkest Hour is like
It might not
a
be for
10 out of
everybody,
10.
but
You know what I mean? But like for me, I personally really enjoyed it. And you definitely didn't
Yeah,
throw any
and
shade on it. And I can see definitely where your guys' points are coming from. But again, this is why we can talk about and discuss, and it's interesting to see like the two viewpoints where you're like, oh, I think they could do this, and I'm like, no, I think what they did was pretty good. Like, well, it's just interesting, like the different points that like we focus on, or that we're like, oh, this is like for me what would have made it like a fulfilling ending, and I'm like, to me, I was fulfilled, man. Like that was money to me.
see, and at the end of the day, man, I'm just happy that you have a film that you, like, feel this strongly about and that you care about that much. Like,
Yeah, I'm a
it's just,
sucker for that
like,
kind of stuff.
like, it still makes me just smile, like, how much you ranted about this movie, like, and what was it, like,
Poor Ethan, he's
first,
like, this movie's gonna be fucking amazing. Then he's like, what the fuck is this?
that was like, what episode? That would be episode 3, I think it was, that we were on.
Yeah, something like that. I've been talking about this one for a while.
I finally watched it and it was okay.
Well, yeah, I'm just like, yeah, it just like I'm not like disappointed that you like your opinions on it necessarily, but I'm just like, oh, I wish you would have had a better time with it. You know what I mean? Like, I just wish you would have enjoyed it a little bit more. But it is what it is, man. Like, it is what it is.
There's a small part of me that half debated not to watch it just to keep the joke going.
Dude, that would have been super funny. I would have been like, you got to be kidding me, bro.
No, I'm sorry, I didn't have time. I was watching too many other good things.
Yeah. I was watching too many other really good shit.
Oh,
And
man,
yeah, and like no, I definitely get like it's probably more of even like I'm definitely that film's like target audience. Like if there's a target audience for it, like it's definitely like me. Like I love history. I love speeches. Like, I just love the whole idea of it, right? So, like, if there was ever a target audience, it would be me. So I could see where I'd be a little bit more biased towards it. But no, like, I think it
Well, and,
just
like,
kind of depends what you're focusing on and like what you want out of the film, right? Like for
I
me, I
like
got what I needed and I felt like fulfilled at
I
that with
like
that ending.
history. I like history films, and I like talking films, and I like films that just are talking. Like I love that stuff. But like it was just something about it wasn't that interesting to me, and I don't know what it like. I know this is a fiction, and I know it's not a parallel at all. But you want to talk about a film that's really inspirational about using the English language to express yourself? Dead Poet Society.
I
Like
didn't see that one either.
you haven't seen Dead Poet
No, I
Society?
have not.
You weren't in Radslaff's English class, were you?
Nope, unfortunately not. I
Oh
got stuck with that crazy lady.
man, you need to like you should watch Dead Poet Society. That's I think it's one you would really like and really appreciate.
Likely.
It's a great cast. It's a good story. It's funny, heartwarming, heartbreaking. Like it's solid, 100%.
Yeah.
Like 10 out of 10 would recommend.
If I watch this, Ethan, and I'm just like, meh, I'm gonna throw a rock at you.
That's fine.
I'm just kidding though, because no, I like obviously I've heard a lot of talk about Dead Poet Society.
I mean, how do
It's
you
got to
like
go on the
Robin
list.
Williams?
Well,
Do you
yeah, of
like
course.
Robin
Who
Williams?
doesn't?
Then
Like that's like blasphemy. If you say I don't like Robin
oh
Williams, like get
man,
off, jump off a bridge, man. Like get out
I
of here.
I can't believe I didn't talk about the some of the greatest films that I actually watched in this break. I completely forgot, and I just watched them. We marathoned all three Night at the Museum movies,
Oh my gosh.
and honestly, honestly, man, have you seen them? Have you watched all three?
I have like very far apart from each other, and I've only watched them each once.
Dude, watching them back to back, the worst one is the second one, and like even then it's not that bad, but like 1 and 3 are just delightful.
I
And
never
it's
had fun with
so
them.
oh man, I had fun.
I just didn't.
It's it's fascinating to watch just like also as a cinema study to see how different movies changed from 2006 to 2009 to 2014
Yeah.
because while it's the same franchise they all feel very different, and it's just it was a very interesting thing to watch because I just wanted to watch the first one because I was curious about it, and then
Mhm.
Prosser had never seen any of them, and I'm like, well, I haven't seen the second and third one either, so let's just marathon these.
They just get her done.
I have no idea why, and like honestly though, they weren't bad. They weren't as bad as I remember them being.
Hmm.
I'm not saying they're great. They're not cinematic masterpieces, but Robin Williams were in them. So,
Yeah, like yeah, Robin Williams is always like money though. Like
oh, he's
what are you gonna do, right? Like what are you gonna
yes.
do?
Dead Poet Society, highly recommend. So good. I need to rewatch it actually.
Sounds good. I think this wraps this up mainly, except for our question of the
I
day,
was gonna say, yeah. Where's
which
your
is
question of the day,
on
Matt?
me. Before that, just let us know what you guys watched this break. If you guys had any great movies, and what do you think about Darkest Hour? If you don't like it, throw a rock at you. Just kidding. Just kidding. Just
Tell Matt
kidding.
it's terrible.
Just
Well, who said
kidding.
that? Where'd that voice come from?
That's what I bet. Everyone's gonna be like, "This is the worst," and it isn't the worst. It's like a solid 7, man. Like I'm not gonna say it's like a 10 out of 10 like overall, but I'd say it's like a solid 7. It's considerably
Matt.
better than Wonder Woman 84. Let's put it
Hey
that
Matt,
way.
is it a 10 out of 10 for you?
Oh yeah, for like me. But I mean
Then
like
that's then
objectively.
that
If you're gonna say like objectively, like if you would average out how most people I think probably feel about that film, I would say probably people probably be it's probably more middling for some people. But like
all that
if you
matters
if
is
you're
that it's
oh yeah, no, I love it. Like
all that
I
matters is
love
10 out
it.
of 10
I'm
for
probably
you.
gonna watch it now this weekend because we talked about it.
Do it.
But no, I am, and I'm gonna see like, and I'm gonna listen to, I'm gonna put into thoughts what you guys think about it. But no, like yeah, just go watch it.
Just get a message from you after you watch it. You crazy.
Like you
You
don't
guys are
know, you
dumb.
guys are dumb, stupid. But yeah, no, it's always good to talk about it, right? Because there's always different things. You're like, oh, I never thought of it that way, or
Mhm.
look at that point of view as well. But no, I love that film. I love it. I love it. I love it. Okay, question of the day. So from all the films that you watched over the winter break, what's your favorite character?
I'm gonna go with Legends, and I'm gonna go with the Atom. Like Ray Palmer is so great, and he like out of characters, this like I watched a lot of good stuff, man. But character wise,
Yeah.
two of my favorite characters both came out of Legends. I just and that's Ray Palmer, because he's just his optimism and his sheer ability to just look at the bright side of even the worst situations is just inspiring and wonderful. And
Yeah.
Brandon Routh's amazing. But then on the flip side of that, Heat Wave from there, like Mick Rory, the big guy with the flame gun.
Yeah.
He's hilarious. And dude, what they do with him in season 4 and 5 is just
It's top notch, eh?
It's so good. He's hilarious, and he's great too. And their dichotomy together is just like when he's trying to make like essentially make Ray his sidekick basically, or like the
Yeah.
new Snart. Like it's just like, and also it's just watching, if Prosser was a hardened criminal, it's just him. That's like, but 100%, like I'd say the Atom. He was just inspiring this Christmas break, and it was the energy that I needed this holiday season.
Right.
So how about for you, Matt?
Cool, man. I would say
Winston Churchill?
no, because I didn't watch that, so I can't say
Oh, okay.
Winston Churchill. Even if it did, it probably wouldn't be my like favorite character. Okay,
Since
number
he's
one,
real.
like favorite like side character, like for sure is like Taika Waititi's priest in The Hunt for the Wilder People. Fucking, anytime that guy shows up in his movies, you're just like, this guy's fucking hilarious, man. Do you remember that scene?
I remember briefly.
Yeah, his character isn't that pretty funny. That's some pretty funny priest work, if I do say so myself.
That was the first thing I'd ever seen Taika Waititi. Like that was the first time I ever saw him.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
Yeah.
that was actually the first Taika Waititi movie that I'd seen was Hunt for the Wilder People.
Really? And that's my last one that I've seen
And
so
then I
far.
saw What We Do in the Shadows, and then I saw Thor Ragnarok, and then I saw
I saw Thor first, What We Do in the Shadows, Jojo Rabbit, Hunt for the Wilder People. But I think just like in general, I would have to say it's got to be Wonder Woman, man. She's totally the best.
it's Batman.
It's Batman. Was Batman in anything? No, but Batman's pretty fucking cool. Pretty cool.
I mean, I watched a Batman movie.
I would have to say like freaking William Wallace, man. I freaking love William Wallace. Like Mel Gibson's kind of a crazy dude, but like I still like him as an actor. Like his personal life, whatever, dude. That's you can deal with that. But as an actor, Mel Gibson's
terrible Scottish accent.
Well, okay, let's not pretend that was good, but like the characters itself, like because he directed that one too, I think, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I really just like you like the character, right? Because I think one of the things Mel Gibson's really good at putting in his character is like that fire. You know what I mean? Like whether it's like William Wallace or it's like Martin Riggs or his character
It's the
from
crazy.
it's the crazy. Like it's the fire like when he's angry or like going nuts, it's like, "Oh no, I believe you. You lost your
Well,
shit."
again, it's-
You know what I mean? Like
that scene in Lethal Weapon where he like throws the guy off the building with him, where
Yeah.
it's like, yeah, I want to do this. Well, let's go together.
yeah.
And it's like, okay.
Like you could tell it's like, man, he's got that inner fire that
Was
makes
he
you for sure
acting,
say,
or was
like-
that just Mel
or
Gibson
is that just
jumping
Mel
off of the
Gibson
building?
being crazy as hell? But
Did he know there was a thing underneath him, or was he just going for it?
but yeah, no, like I think it's just that character had suffered so much in the first act of that film, right? Like lost his dad, he lost his brother, he saw his village people like all hung, he lost his wife, you know, it's just but he didn't lose his sense of honor, of dignity. He didn't like crawl into a hole and become a broken man. You know what I mean? Like he just used
He just evolved into a murderer.
well, let's be honest, he's probably a rape murderer, but like, you know, he was a warrior and
True.
he turned that into anger to not just it wasn't just about avenging his wife. It was about
It was
fighting for
about
the cause, right? It
freedom.
was what it came down to at the end of the day. It was about turning that anger and that frustration and not just going because he could have just went on a blood savage path and just like I'm just gonna murder everyone. But like, what did he do? He built an army, built a cause, and you know, fought for freedom. So I think that's an admirable
Man,
admirable trait.
you want to talk about favorite characters though from that movie? It's the Irishman. The Irishman.
Oh
It's
man,
just
yeah, he's so funny.
he's so
Okay,
good.
Irishmen. Anytime they show up, are usually pretty funny. Like, have you watched The Last Kingdom at all?
No,
The
not
main
yet.
character, like in the kind of back seasons, like I think he shows up like halfway through season 2 or something. But he gets like this Irish character who's like a companion to him, and he's freaking so funny, man. Like he's so funny. You just gotta love these guys. There's just something about the Irish, eh? It's pretty funny. But yeah, no, and of course, like, well, you got
The
like the big classic, big red there, his Scottish buddy.
big
Yeah,
Scottish
you
guy.
got the classic.
Brendan Gleeson, who also famously played he played Winston Churchill in another thing that HBO
Oh,
did
did
years
he?
ago. Yeah,
Um,
fun fact.
yeah, actually, yeah. Look at man, it's really hard to pick characters. Maybe I would go with. Cause I did like John C. Riley's character in the Sister Brothers. That he was actually pretty
I
funny.
can't believe you're not going with Clarice from Silence of the Lambs.
Well, she was like she did a good performance. I don't know if her characters, but maybe Buffalo Bill, man.
Fine, I get.
Maybe Buffalo Bill. Maybe Hannibal Lecter. I watched a lot of really good movies. It's hard to decide. Oh, Mike, yeah, from The Godfather.
Um,
Whatever.
you know about Chris Griffin being based off of Buffalo Bill, right?
What's that?
Chris Griffin, like from Family Guy, being based off
Oh, I
Buffalo
didn't know
Bill.
that.
You know
No.
about that? So
Sam
basically,
Neill's
Seth
character from
Green
The Hunt for the
and
Wilder
his
People. Yeah. Damn.
Seth Green and his buddy would do a Buffalo Bill impression to each other just to make each other laugh.
Yeah.
And then he went into audition for Family Guy, and he went in, did the audition, and did a pretty generic teenage voice. And they're like, "Okay, thank you." And he's like, "Wait, can I try one more thing?" And he just did the Buffalo Bill impression for them as Chris Griffin. They're like, "Hey, can you do that but make it younger?" And so he did, and that became Chris's voice, and that's why Chris talks like
Yeah,
that.
that's so funny.
And that's where like they've peppered throughout Family Guy little references to Buffalo Bill. Like there's that whole scene where he like when he becomes popular, and then Meg shares that video to make him unpopular, where he's doing the Buffalo Bill
Oh,
like,
yeah.
"Would you
Yeah.
do me?"
Would you do me?
That's because he based his voice off of Buffalo Bill, and I think that is the funniest thing.
That's gold.
It makes my heart
That's
happy.
gold. Anyway, yeah.
So that's our first episode back. For
First
season 2,
episode
man.
back. Let us know what your guys' character as the holiday shows you watch through the whole thing.
Matt's falling asleep, people.
Yeah, I can't even think about I'm like, oh man, I watched so many good movies. Like Adam Sandler's character was really good. Obviously, Emperor Palpatine from Rise of Skywalker stole the whole movie.
It's true.
I love Ian McDiarmid and I love his Emperor. But what they did in that movie was just like, you should have left him dead, buddy. Should have left him dead.
Agreed.
Anyway, yeah, this is it. This is it. Episode 22 of A Feast of Films. Ethan, tell the good people where they can find you before I fall asleep.
You can find me on Instagram at Ethan R. Hill. You can find me on YouTube under the same name, Ethan R. Hill. And you can also find my movie Damned Rights for sale and for rental digitally on realhouse.org. Just go there, type in Damned Rights, and you will find our movie. Where can they find you, Matt?
Cool. You can find me on my YouTube channel, Storytellers for Life. Pop on over there. We're having a great time talking about stories and the resiliency of the human spirit. Something like that. I don't know. A couple things like that. Yeah, should be a good time. Jump on, follow me at Twitter at Storytellers, 4, capital L's, Storytellers for Life. I just pretty much chirp about politics and video games most of the time. Some story stuff, Twitter, I just watch people. I'm just creeper on Twitter. Facebook at Storytellers for Life. Twitch at Storytellers for Life Live. We're playing gaming's greatest stories. So that actually is going to be pretty fun once we start up there. Other than that,
Man,
that's
you
it.
should have just been Storytellers for Alive.
God damn it. That would actually been pretty good.
Sorry, Matt. That's why you should consult me before you do anything.
I also thought of like a better Twitter handle, like just the other day, like months after I made it. I'm like, God damn it, that would have actually been better. That's not bad. Whatever. It is what it is. It is what it is. But
It is what it is.
yeah, let us know. Hope you guys had a great holiday. We're going into 2021 strong, brand new episode, and it should be a great year. It's starting out pretty crazy as hell, but I think it could only go up from here. Most likely,
You knock on
probably.
wood right now. You knock on wood
I'm
right
knocking.
now.
I'm knocking. I'm knocking. Knock, knock. Who's there?
Who's there?
Would you do me? I would do me.
So hard. So hard.
Now we're getting into the realm of ridiculousness. Okay, guys. We'll see you guys next week with another episode of A Feast of Films. I'm Matthew Ayalew.
I'm Ethan R. Hill.
So long.
Bye-bye. Toodaloo. And Matt's gonna go to bed now. All right, we're gonna go tuck Matt in. Have a good week,
Bye-bye.
everybody, and we'll talk to you later. So
see you
long.
guys later.
And he's gone, guys. That's Matt. He's definitely the one snoring.
Oh.